Chapter 15, 91 Arrangements. Chapter 15, 91 Arrangements. Long Fei, are you crazy? Xianyuan Xiong's room. Preparations before the match. Xianyuan Xiong did not understand why Long Fei wanted to compete in martial arts. Long Fei looked at Xianyuan Xiong and said, "Uncle, it's all right. I will win." Win? With what? Not to mention that the battle letter is a divine-level powerhouse. Just the 4 Zhan's elderess that he brought with him are already extremely formidable. Their strength is all above mine. How can you all win? Xianyuan Xiong said anxiously. He had experienced the divine suppression from the battle letter just now. It was truly too powerful, so powerful that he was simply unable to defend against it. In front of him, he was as weak as an ant. He really wasn't a match for her. Xianyuan Xiong slightly said, "Long Fei, I know that you are doing this for my own good, but this method of yours is simply courting death. No way. I can't let you die." Xianyuan Xiong's gaze tightened and said, "Follow me. I still have a secret room here. I'll take you out." Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei said, "Uncle, if we leave, what will you do? What about Lear? What are you going to do? Have you thought about this? If I can hide for a while, I can't hide for a lifetime." Hell Gate was exterminated, but Zhan clan's strength did not suffer any blow. He was still incredibly strong. He escaped this time, but what about next time? Moreover, Xianyuan Li'er's situation was too dangerous. Long Fei had to save her, and the best way to save her was to annihilate the Zhan clan. That way, Zhan Wushuang would definitely come out of the Tower Question of God and kill her afterwards. Xianyuan Xiong was speechless for a moment. Long Fei said solemnly, "Don't worry, since I proposed this, then I will definitely have a chance of winning." He could only comfort Xianyuan Xiong like this. As for the odds of victory, Long Fei had no confidence at all. Just like what Xianyuan Xiong had said, Zhan Xion's cultivation was too strong. He had never faced this kind of powerhouse who could condense a divine spark. This was the true divine-level powerhouse. Xianyuan Xiong heaved a sigh of relief and clenched his fists. "Yuanba, your first battle. Oya, your second battle." Long Fei said, "As for the third match." Li Yuanba laughed foolishly. "Boss, there's no third battle. We'll send them back to their maternal grandma's house in the first 2 battles." Oya confidently said, "I agree with that." Long Fei said, "This is for the best, but you all must remember one thing. If your opponents do not immediately admit defeat, you must not fight to the death. Understand?" Long Fei didn't want anything to happen to them. Li Yuanba carried the giant spirit axe on his shoulder and laughed. "Boss, don't worry." And then Long Fei said, "If there is a third battle, Tianling, you are the candidate." Huh. Everyone in the room was slightly shocked. They were all looking at Long Fei, not understanding his arrangements. The sky spirit responded with an excited laugh. "Understood, boss." Xianyuan Xiong looked at Long Fei and said, "Aren't you going to fight the third battle yourself?" Long Fei said, "I need to go out for a bit. When I'm not here, Arhut, you will take command. Remember to be calm and not panic." "Where to?" Oya asked worriedly. Long Fei smiled and said, "It's not too far away, right inside this Xianyuan prefecture." Tianling said, "Boss, don't worry. I'll definitely get rid of all of them." If there was a third battle, when the battle letter saw that Long Fei did not appear, he would definitely not appear because he was extremely arrogant. They were disdainful of fighting with the 8 King Kong. Thus, Long Fei did not arrive. He was not worried about the matter of the Sky Spirit Guild fighting letter. From the moment the battle letter appeared, Long Fei had been extremely excited because the battle letter was a big boss. It was even stronger than the golden light emitted by the Zhan clan grand elders. There was no doubt that it was a super big boss. It would definitely explode with power. Now that the boss had appeared, would not be the one to kill it. However, with his current strength, he had to learn that move. Long Fei looked at Xianyuan Xiong in the blink of an eye and said, "Uncle, don't you have a secret passage here? Bring me there." Not long after, Long Fei then walked out of the courtyard through the secret passage. He did not go to another place, but chose to walk into the Lime Canyon. And the power of the shooting stars slicing through the sky. He was still a little bit off. Standing at the edge of heaven, looking at a thin crack, Long Fei exhaled slightly and said, "Fire Unicorn, can you bring me up there?" He continued to observe from below. He could only feel the domineering aura of that sword energy. If he were to observe and comprehend it in the sky, what kind of concept would that be? Boom. The fire unicorn rushed out and said, "Boss, come at me." Long Fei got up and sat on it. Boom. The fire unicorn transformed into a beam of fire and shot into the sky. As he flew through the air, the strong airflow caused him to lose his balance, as if he was on the verge of collapsing. It spun continuously in the air currents. After the fire unicorn fused with the sacred blood, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Right now, his cultivation could probably be considered to be at the peak of the divine beast, but facing against a threat of air, he was unable to resist. It was hard to imagine how powerful this energy flow was. He tried a few times, but the air currents were like a barrier that couldn't be broken through. The fire unicorn was also burning with anger. "I don't believe it." He rushed into the stream of air once again. Long Fei observed with confidence. Even if it was created by the sword Qi, where did it come from? Could it be, after a few million years, the sword aura is still here? Damn! Isn't that too terrifying? If it was an ordinary gust of air, it wouldn't be able to stop the fire unicorn. Was there some kind of secret hidden in this stream of air, or could it be? The true meaning of the Sky Shatter Sword was hidden inside. At this moment, in the yard, 8 King Kong walked out. Xianyuan Lai was the first to notice it, and immediately asked, "Where is that brat Long Fei?" The battle letter's gaze turned grim as well. Li Yuanba said as he drank, "Our boss will be here shortly." Xianyuan Lai looked at the battle letter and said, "Master, I will bring my men to look for him." Zhan Exine laughed coldly and said, "Long Fei, you escaped before the fight even began? Ha ha. What did I think you were doing?" "So, he's just a coward." Li Yuanba immediately shouted out, "Try saying it again." He raised his sleeves. The muscles on his body bulged. Strands of energy that could be seen with the naked eye were released out one after another. It was extremely brutal. The battle letter glanced at him coldly, not putting Li Yuanba in its eyes at all, because it despised him. He was a super powerhouse who was famous hundreds of years ago, and he completely disregarded the kind of little friend like Li Yuanba. The war letter said coldly, "Don't waste my time. Let's begin." Chapter 1592, Li Yuanba's Instant Kill. Chapter 1592, Li Yuanba's instant kill as soon as he finished. Li Yuanba took a step forward and laughed simple-mindedly. "My huge axe has been hungry for a long time. Which one of you is coming?" The giant axe on Li Yuanba's shoulder fell. Holding it in his hand, he pointed at the battle letter. His aura was quite domineering. He wouldn't care about all that, and he was never afraid of anything. It was as if the word fear did not exist in his mind. From the day he followed Long Fei, he had never known what fear was. At this time, a Zhan's elder walked out, thin and lean like a mouse, forming a strong contrast with Li Yuanba. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly as he smiled sinisterly. "I'll do it." Li Yuanba looked at him and said, "Let's begin." Swish, 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 swish. The crowd retreated, and they quickly opened up a path. The lean elder stared blankly for a moment before suddenly disappearing. Invisibility? That's not right. Even his aura and footsteps had completely disappeared. It was as if he had completely vanished into thin air. This cultivation technique was definitely extraordinary. Li Yuanba stood where he was, unmoving, no matter if you were disappearing, or even disappearing into the void. You only had one goal in doing all this: sneak attack. As long as he seized that moment to strike with his axe, he would be killed instantly. Boom! With a dull thud, his blade struck out. Shwa! A long wound immediately appeared on Li Yuanba's shoulder as blood madly gushed out. He didn't have time to react. When he reacted, the skinny man disappeared again. "Ha ha ha! Didn't you say that you were shouting pretty loudly just now? Now, you don't even have the chance to backstab me. He's quite big, but he's also trash." Many people started to mock him. At this moment, Shwa! With another stab, Li Yuanba still could not react. It was too fast. However, he became even more serious. The strength stripes on his body released one after another, forming a unique domain. A cold laugh rang out in the air as he said, "I'm going to slowly play you to death. Ha ha ha." The entire sky was filled with cold laughter. A few Zhan clan elders also laughed. He really is going to be slowly played to death. Play crash. What a bloody slaughter. Whoosh whoosh. Asterisk while he was speaking, another few slashes came out. There were in front, and on the side, Li Yuanba's reaction speed was slower by half a beat, but compared to before, his speed was a little faster. However, it was still unable to compare to the lean man's speed. If you were unable to grasp his movement trajectory, you would be unable to do anything to him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk, after a few minutes, other than the place where he carried the coffin, Li Yuanba was not hurt. Moreover, from start to finish, Li Yuanba did not make a move. No backhand. The other King Kong couldn't help but worry. Arhot asked, "Yuanba, can you still—" Without waiting for him to ask, Li Yuanba replied, "No problem. If he's like this, he'll just be a target. His speed won't be able to keep up at all. What should we do? If this goes on, I'll definitely be killed by one blade after another." Lin Yusheng said worriedly. Li Yuanba was very strong. They all knew that. However, speed was his weakness. It was as if the skinny man had seen through his weakness and completely toyed with it. There was nothing you could do about it. If it was them, there was nothing they could do. They couldn't compete with the lean man in terms of speed. Aoya looked at the blood dripping from Li Yuanba's body and said, "Should we give up?" Zhan Exine coldly smiled and said, "Give up? The duel didn't seem to give up, right? This battle will not end until one side dies." Ha ha! A sinister laughter rang out in the air as well. "Don't worry. He'll be free in no time." Ha ha ha! Seven King Kong's face darkened. Xianyuan Xiong's face also became very ugly. However, the disciples of the Xianyuan nationality were all wearing excited smiles. Li Yuanba losing meant that they had an extra layer of protection. The Zhan clan would not touch them. "Kill him! Kill him! Kill him!" The disciples of the Xianyuan nationality shouted. The skinny man's cold voice sounded again, and he said coldly, "Everyone says that your 8 King Kong is special, and the power that each person cultivates is different. And as the head of the 8 King Kong, I just want to say, what's the use of pure power? You're just a piece of trash." As soon as he finished, a blade came slashing down. The target of this strike was Li Yuanba's throat. He wanted a single slash. Li Yuanba was still standing there foolishly and innocently, not moving at all. It was as if he couldn't catch the movements of the skinny man like before. However, at this moment, with him at the center, a unique domain of power had already slowly emerged. The strength stripes turned with him in this narrow domain. He is the king. The moment the skinny man's blade appeared, Li Yuanba's eyes suddenly opened wide in anger, as though he was angry Buddha. His eyes flashed with a sharp light. At the same time, the giant spirit coffin on his back trembled and dropped. Clang! The golden corpse rushed out and instantly merged into Li Yuanba's body. He made a grasping motion with his right hand. Shua! As if he had pierced the air, Li Yuanba let out a furious roar and said heavily, "Die for me!" Rumble! The void split apart. The powerful force crushed everything in its path. A figure was pulled out from the void by him. It was the lean man. Buzz! The moment the energy exploded from the Titan god, Li Yuanba's right arm immediately turned golden, erupting with extremely dense energy, a pure physical energy. His innate divine strength was fully displayed at this moment. He grabbed the skinny man and violently smashed him onto the ground. Rumble! Rumble! The ground became caved in and cracked, causing the entire Xianyuan prefecture to tremble. Puffed! The skinny man spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale, and his internal organs were all corroded by the shock. Just like that. This power was simply, he couldn't bear it? Why? Why? The skinny man shouted in his heart, and then his eyes turned vicious. He shouted, "I want to kill you." Before he could finish, his eyes suddenly darkened. Where is he? Li Yuanba's figure disappeared, just like how he had disappeared before. Only this time he could not see Li Yuanba's movements clearly and was completely unable to keep up with his movements. 3 heads, 6 arms. Giant spirit god slash. Li Yuanba dropped from the sky, a 3-headed, 6-armed body. Moreover, his entire body was golden, extremely domineering. The sword chopped down. The lean man's body split into pieces. Instant kill. Chapter 1593, Evil. Chapter 1593, Evil, a powerful blast. One move was enough. Zhan's elder's body flew out in pieces. The scene was bloody and tragic, even worse than 5 horses dismembering. Li Yuanba's 3 heads and 6 arms tall and sturdy body. Golden water poured out of his skin. The domineering aura of giant spirit access. It could be said that he was extremely handsome, overbearing, and matchless. The entire audience was in shock. They were all shocked speechless by Li Yuanba. Zhan's elder was killed just like that. Isn't this way too unthinkable? He couldn't react at all. This, how is this possible? Illusion, aren't you always crushing him? Why did it suddenly become like this? Too fast. One grab, one slash, it was over in an instant. It was so fast that no one could react. The eyes of the 3 clan elders darkened. Flames spouted out of their eyes, releasing a strong killing intent. They stared straight at Li Yuanba. Li Yuanba laughed innocently and said domineeringly, "You don't accept it? If you don't like it, you can come again." Arrogant to the point of being a complete mess, Li Yuanba had this kind of personality. I am not afraid of the heavens, not afraid of the earth, no matter what cultivation you have. I will not be afraid, let alone a divine-level powerhouse. Even if a sovereign stood in front of him, he would still act so arrogantly and arrogantly. You're courting death. One of the Zhan's elder S was enraged and instantly wanted to rush out. However, he was stopped by the letter. He smiled coldly and said, "Don't be in such a hurry." Xianyuan Xiong faintly said, "In our first battle, Li Yuanba won." Li Yuanba stood in his original position and was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he stared at the Zhan's elder and said, "Who's in a bad mood? This is too presumptuous." The other elder could no longer bear to listen. Zhan Xian sniggered disdainfully as he replied, "Let's play another round then." "How boring." Li Yuanba regained his real face look, and the golden corpse instantly left his body and entered the god coffin. He carried the giant spirit axe on his shoulder and walked back with big steps. "Big guy, you're awesome." "Ha ha ha." "Too fierce." "The head of Vajra is indeed extraordinary." "Ha ha ha." The 7 King Kongs laughed. Li Yuanba also innocently smiled, excited. Arhut walked to Li Yuanba's side and took out a few healing pills, saying, "Quickly take them. Don't force yourself." Even if the defense of one's body was strengthened by dozens of cuts, blood was something that ordinary people would not be able to withstand. Li Yuanba persisted on as he completely released his power domain. In this domain, he was like a hidden cheetah waiting for an opportunity. If the lean man was a little more calm, Li Yuanba would not have been a match for him. Li Yuanba scratched his head, took the pill, and swallowed it. "Sister-in-law, you have to be careful next. These people have extraordinary powers." Li Yuanba was worried. Chen Tianfei walked forward and said, "Elder sister-in-law, how about you allow me to fight? My skin is thick and my resistance is strong." Aoya's identity was special. She was Sword Force King Kong of the 8 King Kong, but she was also Long Fei's woman. Their sister-in-law. Aoya faintly smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will win this fight." And then Oya walked up. At this moment, an elder of the Zhan clan walked out. The moment he stepped into the arena, his overwhelming aura attacked Aoya. "Let the duel begin." Buzz. With that, the Zhan's elder's chi changed again as he released his divine level power. A bright light shone from his entire body, and with a flip of his right hand, a sword flew towards Aoya. Combined with that powerful aura, it completely crushed Oya. "This is bad." Xianyuan Xiong frowned. With the god-level suppression coupled with Zhan clan's unique sword technique, this time, the foreheads of the King Kong and his men tightened up. Pressure crushed the body. Sword technique pierced through, coordinating perfectly with a one-hit kill. Aoya's body trembled slightly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Sword spirits started to sound in the air, forming a powerful sword spirit array. The moment Zhan's elder made his move, all the sword spirits also started to move. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Ear-piercing sword hums rang out one after another. Zhan's elder's face changed. "Sword spirit array? It seems like you've been to the Cloud Palace. However, do you know who destroyed the Cloud Palace?" "By me." The Zhan's elder sneered. He was the one who annihilated the sword sect remains that Aoya cultivated. One person killed. Thus, he was very familiar with this kind of sword spirit sword formation. He had known about it since the moment Oya had released it. Aoya's expression changed slightly. She gripped the long sword in her hand tightly. With a fierce killing intent in her eyes, she had stayed in the Cloud Palace. She had received the sword spirit sword formation's true inheritance. Since it was the destruction of the Zhan clan, they definitely could not let him go. Shwa. The sword spirit array suddenly changed. In the blink of an eye, Aoya thought of the sword techniques that Long Fei had taught her in her mind. Whoosh, whoosh. His body was like an ethereal shadow, constantly appearing in the void, swaying left and right, unable to see clearly what was real and what was a prosthesis. And at this moment, the over 100 sword spirits under Aoya's control simultaneously began to blur. It was just like how 100 people instantly surrounded Zhan's elder to kill him. What a sharp sword technique. Xianyuan Xiong was secretly shocked. He had never seen the sword techniques that Aoya had displayed. It was also the first time he saw someone who could control over 100 sword spirits. The Sword Force King Kong was different. Aoya's understanding of the sword had reached an extremely high level. Even the Xianyuan nationality that used the sword family had to admire him. Sister-in-law has improved so much. What a powerful sword art. 8 King Kong could not help but be shocked as well. It's rare for a sword spirit to have fused with a real face to this extent, but it's completely useless. In my eyes, it's child's play. He flicked his index finger. Buzz. The sword flashed with a golden light, forming a sword of air. Shwa. It passed through. In that instant, Aoya's body sank. Her chest was pierced by a force. Fresh blood spurted out from her body. Her body was also sent flying backwards, and she spurted out a mouthful of blood. It was also at this time the Battle Clan powerhouse continued to attack. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk sword intent came crushing down from all directions. Boom, boom, boom. Eldest sister-in-law. Li Yuanba roared out, "Fatty!" Chun Tianfei had already rushed out, a layer of shadow as thick as a steel armor superimposed on his body, and directly rushed forward to block all of the energy. Rumble, rumble, rumble. It was surging crazily. Chun Tianfei's divine armor and steel armor were also constantly cracking, but Chun Tianfei was firmly blocking all the damage. Chun Tianfei also spat out a mouthful of blood. His body also flew out. Bang, bang. Aoya was also sent flying dozens of meters away. Her face was extremely pale. The Zhan's elder flew into the air and floated above Aoya's head, revealing a sinister smile. Chapter 1594, Battle Letter. Chapter 1594, Battle Letter, Die. Zhan's elder shouted in anger. The cold sword in his hand moved, stabbing towards the center of Aoya's brows. An incomparably sharp sword. As long as it hit, Oya would definitely die. At this time, Li Yuanba and the rest were all over a dozen meters away, and it seemed like they were only this far away. They could arrive there in a breath's time, but this was also the distance. The Zhan's elder was even closer to them than they were. With an explosion, a black light flashed from Chun Tianfei's body, which covered the sky. Buzz. With one step, he stood in front of Aoya and stared at the Zhan's elder as he shouted, "Come!" The Zhan's elder's eyes turned cold, and he sneered, "You overconfident thing, die." His body sank. His speed was even faster, and the sword burned with a golden light as he heavily stabbed downwards. Buzz. The instant it pierced Chun Tianfei's forehead, the black light on his body pounced towards Zhan's elder like wasps and trapped him in an instant. Buzz, buzz, buzz. An incomparably ear-piercing sound rang. Zhan's elder let out a roar from the black light, golden light spilling out in all directions. Just when it was about to explode, buzz. It was like a fart that suddenly disappeared. At the same time, the Zhan clan elder was sent flying several dozen meters away. His face was pale, and all the energy in his body had been sucked dry. Rumble! The black light withdrew, and a bit of blood appeared on the center of Chun Tianfei's brows. He stared fixedly into the distance and said, "Come again." 2 against 1? Humph. Then it's my turn. An elder of the Zhan clan suddenly flew out. It was also at this moment. The sky spirit moved, blocking his path, and bellowed, "Your opponent is me." The aura of death of Mi Tian rushed out from all directions. Moreover, the celestial spirit condensed out streams of power of the double yang. Its body did not seem big, but there was a mountain-like shadow superimposed on it. Boom! The two forces collided, and the both of them were repelled at the same time. Everyone was shocked. The war letter's eyes turned sinister as it said coldly, "Xianyuan Xiong, how do we calculate the second round?" Xianyuan Xiong took a glance at Aoya, then looked at Chen Tianfei, gritted his teeth, and said, "Battle letter, it's you who ambushed me first." Huh. The letter slightly raised its eyes. Li Yuanba shouted, "Old man, do you think we're blind? If you can't win, just sneak attack." 9. Secret warrior family? I think it's just a shitty war house. The battle letter's expression changed. One of the elders immediately shouted, "Little bastard, one more word, if you have the guts." Li Yuanba laughed coldly. "Just say it. Am I afraid of you? What a shitty battle house. F*CKU. Come bite me, if you dare." It was useless to threaten Li Yuanba at all. Zhang Xian's gaze was gloomy as he asked once more, "Tell me the result." Xianyuan Xiong said, "You cheated first, so this round should be—" Just as Xianyuan Xiong was about to announce Aoya's victory, several elders from the Xianyuan nationality spoke up at the same time. "Exactly. Xianyuan Xiong, aren't you too biased towards outsiders?" Many elders of the Xianyuan nationality started to clamor. If the Zhan clan was angered, the consequences would be unimaginable. They all hoped that Zhan clan would win. "In my opinion, this should be the victory of Zhan's elder." "You're right." Xianyuan Xiong said, "He cheated first." "Cheating? Why didn't we see it?" Xianyuan Xiong, even if you don't think for your own daughter, you should at least think for the Xianyuan nationality, right? An elder said, angrily, they were afraid that the Zhan clan would kill them all. At this time, it was impossible to dismount from the tiger. The argument was going on and on. It was also at this moment that Aoya stood up from the ground and said, "A draw." The audience fell silent. The war letter faintly smiled. "Sure." The black knife took a step forward and said, "How can it be considered a draw? It's obvious that they were the ones who cheated first." And Aoya and Chen Tianfei looked fine, but in reality, they were injured. It was a very serious injury. Aoya shook her head and said, "Don't make things difficult for Uncle Xian." Only then did the black knife stop talking. 8 King Kong was very unhappy as he held his breath. At this moment, the letter smiled and said, "Let the third match begin." At this time, the sky spirit walked up and said, "I'll fight 3 times." The letter coldly looked at the heavenly spirit and said, "Ghost spirit race, inhuman, non-ghost, non-demon, you are really special. No. To be exact, your 8 King Kong is very special, rising step by step from a low plane. The 8 different powers in your body are constantly awakening." Zhang Xian looked at Li Yuanba and said, "Your pure strength has actually been cultivated by you into a strength domain. Your sword intent, real face and sword spirit's fusion is perfect without the slightest bit of hesitation. And you all, it's really special. I'll give you all a choice. From now on, follow me. I guarantee that no one in this world will dare to touch you." The battle letter looked at 8 King Kong. Ever since Li Yuanba had unleashed his power domain, he had been wanting to take them into his Zhan clan. Li Yuanba laughed disdainfully. Are you qualified? Are you worthy?" 8 King Kong all had a disdainful sneer on their faces as they looked at the battle letter. Their loyalty to Long Fei was not something that could be shaken by anything. Zhang Xian coldly smiled as he said, "If I can't get the things I want, I'll personally destroy him. Bring it on. The third battle, let me do it." As soon as he finished, the entire audience was stunned. The look in the heavenly spirit's eyes tightened up. This was slightly different from Long Fei's expectations. But the heaven spirit was not afraid. Instead, the aura around its body grew even stronger as it said, "Then let's begin." He took a step forward. Suddenly, Jean Xian's body moved. "Get down!" Boom! A thunder-like divine might surged out, directly crushing the deathly flames of the heavenly spirit into smithereens in the blink of an eye. At this moment, a palm was thrown out. The sky spirit did not react immediately. Instead, its body flew out and broke through the walls of the yard. Layer after layer, it flew out thousands of meters. Rumble! A loud sound was heard from the waist of the mountain. The spirits were buried in the rubble. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. You don't know your place. Too powerful. They were not on the same level at all. Jean Xian looked at Li Yuanba and the rest coldly and said, "Am I the victor in this round? It's a draw. Now it's the time for the competition. How about all of you come at once?" He wanted to destroy the 8 King Kong. At the same time, in another place, Long Fei followed the flow of the air current, and suddenly his eyes snapped open as he shouted excitedly, "I understand." At the same time, the system beeped out a notification. Ding! Chapter 1595. 8 King Kong crippled. Chapter 1595. 8 King Kong crippled at the martial arts arena. The letters of war crushed everything in their path, and the divine aura emanating from his body spread out. "All of you, attack together. Don't worry, as long as you can defeat me, I will leave immediately." The war letter sneered coldly. Since he couldn't get what he wanted, he would personally destroy it. He had given the 8 King Kong a chance before, but they didn't know how to cherish it. At the same time, he could also tell that the 8 King Kong was very loyal to Long Fei. "I'll do it!" Li Yuanba roared out, the anger in his heart surging. The fate of a celestial spirit was unknown. Aoya Chun Tianfei was heavily injured. The current 8 King Kong was no longer able to use the power of the heavenly tribulation. Boom! Li Yuanba's body shook. A powerful golden light flashed out, and the giant spirit axe in his hand buzzed as it exploded. He took a step forward. They flew into the air. Boom! His body suddenly transformed into 3 heads and 6 arms, and an intense aura of strength emanated from him. Landing before the war letter, he exerted all of his strength into it. Jean Xian laughed coldly. "King Kong, holy King Kong, I only have strength." Before his voice had even faded, Jean Xian had already advanced. He released a stream of sword chi from his finger and sneered, "Break for me!" Whoosh! The sword chi was like a rainbow. It directly penetrated through Li Yuanba's abdomen. The power of Li Yuanba's body instantly dissipated, and even the state of his 3 heads and 6 arms disappeared. A mouthful of blood sprayed out. The entire body fell from the sky. One move of Slay. His divine power dissipated. Li Yuanba's strength could not resist it at all. This move was too fatal. Bam! The pain was indescribable. Even who had never cried out in pain before could not help but let out a low scream as his body trembled. His strength, it was disappearing. Li Yuanba wanted to grab onto it with all his might, but the more he grabbed onto it, the faster the energy in his body drained like quicksand. Strength, my strength, my strength. This was the first time Li Yuanba felt flustered. He had never used it before, not even in the face of death. He thought that would become a burden, just because his strength was lost. He could not continue walking with Long Fei, so if that was the case, he might as well die. Yuanba, Yuanba. Arhut hurriedly fed Li Yuanba a few healing pills, but it was completely useless as the energy in his body continued to rapidly drain away. The war letter laughed contemptuously. From then on, there will no longer be any power in your body. You will forever become a useless piece of trash. Ha! Ah! Lin Yusheng suddenly roared, I'll do it! Boom! Between heaven and earth, the water particles in the air rapidly condensed. The moment he rushed out, his body was already surrounded by water. The messenger raised his eyes and asked, God, water King Kong? 8 King Kong is really interesting. Since you're water, I'll let you know what the power of fire is. Jean Xin disdainfully sneered as his aura suddenly turned into a fiery red blaze. Lin Yusheng roared in his heart, heavenly water art. Boom, boom, boom. The huge waves in the sky surged over like mountains and seas. From every direction, the entire Xianyuan prefecture seemed to have turned into a sea. Many Xianyuan tribesmen's expression changed slightly. The battle letter was floating in midair, and the aura on his body was ignited. The moment Lin Yusheng's huge wave crashed down, his eyes moved slightly. Break! Tianwu flame serpent! Rumble! An incomparably savage fire serpent charged out, sweeping through the void. At this moment, the fire snake moved suddenly and drilled into Lin Yusheng's body. It passed through his body, in the same position as the pubes in his abdomen. At that moment, Lin Yusheng's eyeballs were almost going to pop out of their sockets. Ah! His entire body fell from the sky. His entire body trembled. His face paled, and the pain in his abdomen became incomparably intense, as if the pubes could not feel it at all. Furthermore, his strength was also frantically flowing away like Li Yuanba's, unable to withstand it at all. My strength, my power, Jean Xin sneered. God, water King Kong has become trash too? The black knife was enraged and slashed with a huge wild blade. Black knife, be careful! Arrogant knife King Kong? Jean Xin raised the space between his eyebrows and watched as an incomparably massive black saber came crashing down from the void. It was as if this saber had descended from the heavens. It was eerie and terrifying. Jean Xin waved his right hand, and a large saber appeared in it as well. With a slight movement of his aura, divine power surged out, and he slashed out at the same time. Walala! The two blades collided. The black knife was broken under the control of the battle letter. The golden-colored blade energy let out a roar, and in an instant it pierced through the black knife's abdomen. With a twist, off, the black knife spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body flew out. The pubes in his abdomen shattered. It was incomparably painful. Ah! Oya was severely injured. Fat Men Chun was severely injured. Li Yuanba's pubes was crippled. Lin Yusheng's pubes was crippled. And now, the black knife was also destroyed. Only Arhut and Dragon Subduing were left. At this moment, the two of them rushed up at the same time. They had already lost all sense of reason. When their heavenly spirit skill was sent flying, they lost all sense of reason. As they watched their brothers fall one by one, it was as if they lost all control over them. There was only one thing on his mind: to kill the war letter, to take revenge. Boom, boom. The Arhut's malevolent aura was released, the golden light from the descending dragon flashed, and it rushed towards Jean Xin at the same time. Jean Xin said with a cold smile, Arhut King Kong, Vajra Subduing Dragon. Ha ha! All of you get on the ground. With that, Jean Xian's eyes turned malevolent. One, a surge of divine power was released from his body, forming a powerful pressure that instantly blocked the attacks of the two of them. Schwa, the battle letter landed in front of the Arhut and laughed sinisterly. 8 King Kong? Now that you're giving me face and not taking it back, all of you are nothing but trash now. Ha ha ha. His palm struck out, blasting on the Arhut's abdomen. The palm power raged and pierced through his body. Arhut felt as if his soul was about to be beaten out of his body. His eyes were ferocious, and his eyeballs were about to pop out. He was in incomparable pain, and his entire body also flew down from the sky. The letter turned and landed right in front of him. Another palm struck out. Bam! It was the same for Descending Dragon. The pubes had split open, making it extremely uncomfortable. Jean Xian's gaze swept across them as he looked at the 7 King Kongs on the ground like a king. He sneered and said, "A bunch of useless trash." Boom, boom. Following the bombardment of the two powers, Aoya's abdomen split open and Chun Tianfei's abdomen split apart. The pubes in the rubble were also blasted apart by him. 8 King Kong, crippled. Chapter 1596. No one can stop me. Chapter 1596. No one can stop me, terrifying to the extreme. The strength of the 8 King Kong was not a problem for her to deal with a divine level powerhouse of the blend FO Godhead. However, the battle letter was a powerhouse that he had condensed a divine spark with his cultivation, and the blend FO Godhead's powerhouse were completely different, and his strength was on a completely different level. He was too strong, too strong. 8 King Kong was like an ant in front of him. All of them were killed with a single move. The pubes was the source of all energy. The fact that pubes were crippled meant that they had become useless. He wouldn't be able to train for the rest of his life. The battle letter laughed wildly in glee. 8 King Kong? Ha ha ha. From today onwards, you will be called the 8 Great Trash. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. The elders and disciples of the Zhan's Elder S and Xianyuan nationality S all laughed out loud. Xianyuan Lai's heart also relaxed a little. The Zhan clan had finally won. If they were to be displeased with the war letter, the entire Xianyuan nationality would be in trouble. At the same time, Xianyuan Lai shouted loudly and said, "Xianyuan Xiong, so who's the winner of this round?" Xianyuan Xiong's gaze tensed up. Xianyuan Lai sneered and said, "What do you have to say now? Quickly agree to Zhan's elder's advance." The war letter looked at Xianyuan Xiong with scorn and said, "I'm very curious. Where did Long Fei go?" "The 8 King Kong has been crippled, and he still hasn't appeared. He must have fled." Ha ha. Long Fei. The war letter disdainfully laughed. Truly a piece of trash. Li Yuanba's entire body was drenched in cold sweat from the pain. He roared out, "The boss will not escape. I am not trash. Just you wait. He will come to kill you soon." The letter laughed. If he had come, then he would have come long ago, but hasn't shown up yet. That can only mean that he has escaped. If you want to talk about trash, then he is indeed trash. The pubes is broken, and his veins are clogged. If this isn't trash, then what is he? This is perfect for you guys. The letter laughed. Regardless of whether Long Fei escaped or not, this battle had heavily injured Long Fei. That was enough. Long Fei still had to leave it for Zhan Wushuang to kill. This way, Zhan Wushuang would have no regrets in the Chaos Realm, and it would be even better to enter the ancient holy battlefield. Aoya replied seriously, "Long Fei is not a trash. Our boss isn't a trash." 7 King Kongs clamored. However, their voices sounded a bit weak and weak. It was difficult for them to even speak right now. Their stomachs were aching, and as their strength faded away, his cultivation would slowly decline to 0, worse than an ordinary person. Looking at their 7 King Kongs, he said, "Staying alive is also a burden. I originally wanted to heavily injure you guys to lure Long Fei out, but since he doesn't come out, you guys should lose any value in using him. Go and die." Suddenly he moved. The aura of the war letter exploded. It was also at this time. Xianyuan Xiong said heavily, "You have already crippled them. You have already won. Why are you still trying to kill them all? They are no longer a threat to the Zhan clan." Xianyuan Xiong blocked in front. Nangong Yen also rushed forward and blocked it. The 8 of them had already been crippled. To them, surviving was already a painful thing. The war letter stared at Xianyuan Xiong and said, "You want to stop me?" Xianyuan Xiong clenched his fists tightly and said, "Yes." A killing intent poured out of the battle letter's gaze. Xianyuan Lai was secretly happy. He feigned a cold and righteous look and said, "Xianyuan Xiong, move away. 8 King Kong is not related to us at all." "What do you want?" "Stop the Zhan's elder." "Are you crazy?" Xianyuan Xiong didn't care about it at all. He felt that he wouldn't shrink away from the choice he made, even though he did not know where Long Fei had gone to. But since Long Fei had handed over the 8 King Kong to him, he definitely had to protect their lives. The war letter said gloomily, "Let me ask you one more time. Are you sure you want to stop me?" The killing intent in his eyes grew stronger. Xianyuan Xiong said unwaveringly, "I promised Long Fei that I would definitely protect 8 King Kong." "With just you?" The battle letter stared at Xianyuan Xiong and sneered, "Do you think you have the qualifications?" "Huh." His aura stirred. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Waves of power held the throats of the 7 of them in place and lifted them into the air. The 7 of them struggled. His face darkened. Nangong Yen flew up to the sky and used her sword to cut down the power that was suppressing them, but it was completely useless, as her strength was even more lacking. The letter laughed coldly and said, "Stop me? Xianyuan Xiong, can you hold on? There is no one in this world who can stop me from writing my war letter." "Arrogant." Zhan Xian laughed coldly. "If I want to kill someone, they have to die. Just with you, an ant. Xianyuan Xiong? Who do you think you are?" "Stop me. Stop them." The power of the battle letter was even more ferocious. The 7 of them struggled in midair. Their faces were black, their eyes white. All of their energy had been drained from their pubes. He was even inferior to an ordinary person, with their throats strangled by the powerful divine power. They were powerless to resist. Xianyuan Xiong's face sank and said, "I beg you, please let them go." 8 King Kong was one of Long Fei's 8 brothers. Xianyuan Xiong knew that these 8 people were very special. He could not afford to make the slightest mistake. If anything were to happen to them, he would really let Long Fei down. He had done something that made him regret before. He did not notify anyone about the Hell Gates tragic event, but this time, he didn't want to be wrong again. The war letter laughed heartily and said, "Are you begging me?" "Kneel." Xianyuan Xiong's gaze tightened and said, "Will you let them go if I kneel down and beg you?" The war letter laughed complacently. "How do you know I won't let you go without kneeling?" Plop. Xianyuan Xiong immediately knelt on the ground and said, "I beg you, please let them go." Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. The battle letter and Xianyuan Lai both laughed. The war letter's eyes turned sinister as it laughed. "Kneel down and beg me." Xianyuan Xiong's fists were clenched tightly, which made an explosive sound as he said solemnly, "War letters, one must not be so shameless." The battle letter disdained. "Xianyuan Xiong, this is the world of the powerhouse. Do you understand? Kneel down and kowtow, Li Yuanba said with difficulty. Uncle Xian Yuan, don't. 7 King Kongs shook their heads. Nan Gong Yen slashed crazily, but it was completely useless. It would be best to shout into the sky, as though his heart was being torn to shreds. Long Fei, where are you? Come quickly. Long Fei, hurry up and save them. The 7 King Kongs was dying. If they did not release their grip, they would be strangled to death. Xian Yuan Xiong looked at Li Yuanba and the others and kowtowed heavily. The letter laughed. The Zhan's elder laughed. Many of the elders of the Xian Yuan nationality also began to laugh at him in disdain. Xian Yuan Lai was ecstatic in his heart, but he said, Xian Yuan Xiong, all of Xian Yuan nationality's face has been thrown away by you. Xian Yuan Xiong did not mind that others were laughing at him. He looked at the battle channel and said, Can you let them go now? The war letter smiled, playfully, and said, Did I say to release them? Ah, ha ha ha. Chapter 1597, Long Fei Arriving. Chapter 1597, Long Fei Arriving. He played with it in the middle of his applause. Was this the means of the powerhouse? Kneeling, kowtowing, but Xian Yuan Xiong only received ridicule. The battle letter did not have any intention to let go of 7 King Kongs at all, but instead laughed out loud, looking at Xian Yuan Xiong, who was kneeling on the ground. It began to laugh loudly. Weak. An ant. Powerhouse, the overlord. Everything was under his control. No conditions. Nan Gong Yen couldn't help but cry loudly. Long Fei, come quickly, come quickly. Long Fei, come back quickly. Ah. The letter coldly smiled. No one in this world can save you, and no one can stop me. Xian Yuan Xiong, if you weren't Xian Yuan Lier's father, you would already be a corpse. Zhan Xian's words chilled as he icily replied. Xian Yuan Xiong got up from the ground and walked towards the battle letter step by step. Xian Yuan Lai yelled, Xian Yuan Xiong, what do you want to do? You dare be disrespectful to Zhan's elder. He simply did not place Xian Yuan Xiong in his eyes at all. The powerhouse of the blend, F.O. Godhead, were like trash in his eyes. The divine sparks Xian Yuan Xiong fused with were all given to him by the Zhan clan. He understood his cultivation level very well. Xian Yuan Xiong stopped 3 meters away from the battle letter and asked, Are you going to let them go? His tone was cold. Zhan Xian sneered and said, No. Xian Yuan Xiong said, At our current distance of 3 meters, I can instantly rush to your side and explode my divine spark in an instant. Although it might not be enough to kill you, it will definitely severely injure you. A divine spark exploding. Divine explosion. This was him pouring all of his power into the divine spark fission taking place. A huge divine explosion was produced. This power was extremely strong, powerful to the point of dragging a war letter into the jaws of death. However, very few people would dare to do such a thing because once the divine burst Yuan spirit was destroyed, there would be no chance left. At this moment, the entire arena suddenly quieted down. Xian Yuan Xiong was a divine ranked powerhouse. He had fused with his divine spark, but at the same time, he could release a divine explosion. Everyone shivered. He was really too close to Xian Yuan Xiong at the moment, and it was just as Xian Yuan Xiong had said. If he were to go all out, he was truly in the range of a divine explosion. At this moment, the rage in Zhan Xian's heart surged. This was the first time he got angry, because Xian Yuan Xiong's threat. Xian Yuan Lai shouted anxiously, Xian Yuan Xiong, what are you trying to do? Do you want to destroy the Xian Yuan nationality? Even if you don't think for yourself, you still have to think for so many of your people. if it really was a divine explosion, he would also be killed. Then all the hard work he had done in his life would have been in vain. Xianyuan Xiong completely ignored him, shouted loudly, and said, "I'm just asking if you're letting me go." Their auras were like a rainbow, savage to the extreme. He was giving it his all. Warletter's face became even more unsightly as he felt extremely unwell in his heart. "Xianyuan Xiong, do you know the consequences of offending me? Don't speak nonsense to Laozi. Release or not release?" Xianyuan Xiong glared and roared. All of the energy in his body was surging, and this surge could be seen with the naked eye. He had never been so domineering in his life before. Just as Long Fei had said, if you don't accept it, you dare. This feeling was really good. Warletter? At this moment, he was also going to become a coward. Xianyuan Xiong stared at the battle letter angrily and shouted, "Are you not letting me go?" Boom! His body let out a strong, explosive sound. The Warletter's eyes turned grim. The 3 Zhan clan elders stepped forward. "Elder, we..." Xianyuan Lai slightly retreated and reminded her, "Elder, Xianyuan Xiong has already gone crazy. Since they are all crippled, it's even worse to live than die. Why don't we..." They were all scared. In the face of death, everyone was afraid. People like Warletter were even more so. Divine-level powerhouse were also likely to die, and they were extremely afraid of death. Xianyuan Xiong was holding onto the bomb and asked you, is he going to retreat or not? He was very unhappy with his battle confidence, but he still had not found a way to instantly deal with Xianyuan Xiong. Furthermore, he did not dare take the risk easily, as the closer he got to Xianyuan Xiong, the more dangerous it became. Finally, the Warletter replied solemnly, "All right, I'll do it. However, Xianyuan Xiong, you will suffer a miserable fate." Xianyuan Xiong didn't care in the slightest and said, "Don't bother saying that. Quickly let them go." Bang, bang, bang. 7 King Kongs all fell down from the sky and hit the ground, as the injuries sustained were not light. All of them were breathing heavily, feeling extremely uncomfortable. Xianyuan Xiong immediately said, "Nangong Yen, bring them and leave this place." Nangong Yen said, "Uncle, what about you?" Xianyuan Xiong said, "Don't worry about me. Take them and leave first." His life was no longer important. As long as Long Fei could save his daughter, his life was no longer important. Xianyuan Xiong shouted at Xianyuan Lai and said, "Let them out." Xianyuan Lai did not dare to move recklessly and could only do so. Nangong Yen supported the 2 people who were the most severely injured, while the other 5 supported the 2. Li Yuanba looked at Xianyuan Xiong and said, "Uncle, be careful." They were already a cripple, and staying here would only be a burden. Xianyuan Xiong smiled lightly and said, "I'll be fine." His heart had just relaxed. However, it was because of this that the Warletter suddenly moved and struck out. "Threatening me? Xianyuan Xiong, you must be tired of living." Bam! It was too fast. It was fast to the point that he could not react. Just because of a slight moment of relaxation, the battle letter had discovered it. Moreover, in this instant, a huge force came out and struck Xianyuan Xiong, sending him flying with a palm. Rumble! Rumble! Xianyuan Xiong's body flew several kilometers and fell into the ruins, blood hanging from the corner of his mouth, on his last breath. Warletter was enraged and roared, "Threatening me? All must die." Xianyuan Xiong laid in the rubble, unable to get up. At this time, Nangong Yen and the others had not yet walked out of the courtyard. At this moment, Xianyuan Lai immediately shouted, "Stop them!" The Xianyuan nationality's disciples instantly surrounded Nangong Yen and the 2 of them. The battle letter slowly turned around and stared at Li Yuanba as it coldly laughed, and said, "If I want to kill someone, no one has yet escaped." The 7 of them tried their best to stabilize themselves as they stood there. Aoya said to Nangong, "Yen, big sister, Yen, quickly go yourself." Li Yuanba remained unyielding and shouted, "Come, kill us. Just you wait, boss will definitely mow down your Zhan clan's ancestral tombs." Ha ha ha. Li Yuanba started to laugh maniacally. The other 6 began to laugh wildly as well. From start to finish, they were not afraid at all. It was the same with death. Zhan Xian smiled coldly and replied, "Don't worry. He will soon go to hell to find you. Now go and die." He exerted his strength. Buzz. Divine might-killing intent surged towards the 8 people one after another. It was also at this moment, with a flash of light, a figure descended. Chapter 1598, Level 10 Berserk. Chapter 1598, Level 10 Berserk, boom. With an explosive sound, the light exploded. "Boss!" Long Fei. Long Fei looked at the mess around him, saw that the 7 King Kongs' face was pale white and blood was hanging from the corner of his mouth. And then, when he saw that only the 7 King Kongs was present, he immediately asked, "It's in the ruins in the distance. I don't know what's happening now." Without waiting for Li Yuanba to finish, Long Fei's anger instantly ignited as his entire body turned scarlet red. His rage was boundless as he stared at the battle letter and shouted word by word, "Move! Brother, die!" Every word was filled with killing intent. Moreover, at this moment, the killing intent on his body burned crazily. It was sinister and terrifying to the extreme. Xian Yuanlai sneered and said, "Long Fei, you dog finally came." Zhan Xian laughed coldly and said, "Long Fei, I didn't think that you would actually dare to come back. What a suicide." Long Fei did not speak. His right hand moved. Boom. The sword of Destroy fell into his hands. Boom. The flames began to burn. A sneer still hung on Zhan Xian's face as he said, "You overestimate yourself. With just you, Long Fei, you are just a little ant. You don't even have the qualifications for me to attack you, yet you want to fight against Zhan clan? Fight with Wu Shuang? Do you think you're qualified?" Long Fei still did not speak. However, the aura around his body suddenly became different. Zhan Xian's gaze froze. This aura, there's a sense of déjà vu. Xian Yuanlai smiled slightly. "Elder, let me handle this brat." Finished. Xian Yuanlai walked forward, stared at Long Fei, and gave a cold snort, then said, "Brat, back then you gave me 2 tight slaps. Today, I want your life." Boom. With a burst of power, Xian Yuanlai's semi-realistic realm's aura was released. He took a step forward. He rushed to Long Fei's side and thrusted his sword towards Long Fei's throat. Long Fei stood in place without moving an inch. Xian Yuanlai laughed out loud and said, "Brat, go and die for me? Ha ha ha." His speed increased once again. Countless figures charged towards Long Fei as Nangong Yen gave a loud shout, "Long Fei, be careful! Why isn't he moving? Has he gone mad?" Trash is trash. They must have been crushed by the clan leader's pressure and were unable to move. Ha ha ha. You will soon fall to the ground and become a dead dog. Serves him right. Look at how arrogant he is. The surrounding crowd burst into laughter. However, just as Xian Yuanlai's 1,000 transformation body was about to enter a strange gust of air, it was as if a meat grinder was suddenly operating very quickly in the air. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Bang, bang, bang. The 1,000 changes and 10,000 illusions of his body had been completely twisted to pieces. Real face Xian Yuanlai's body had also instantly turned into a cloud of blood fog. Moreover, Xian Yuan Lai didn't even let out a single scream. This power, too terrifying. The surroundings were completely silent. No one could make a sound. All of them stared at Long Fei with their mouths wide open. Even the battle letter could not understand what kind of power it was. It was just a stream of air. How could there be such a powerful force? I don't understand. He didn't understand at all. The battle letter's forehead tightened. He felt that this current of air was very familiar, but he just couldn't remember when he had seen it before. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Xianyuan Lai for obtaining 100,000 experience, 10,000 holy source points, and 10 energy values points. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. A series of notifications sounded. Long Fei didn't mind in the slightest, but just then the system beep sounded out again. Ding! Special reminder. Your striking energy value has reached the 10th level. Ding! Special reminder. Your striking energy value has reached the 10th level. Ding! Special reminder. Your striking energy value has reached the 10th level. The system beeped 3 times. Long Fei's heart trembled. Level 10 Berserk. F***CK. They're finally here. As for the Berserk amongst them, they're already at level 10. He hadn't used his striking attribute for a long time, because Long Fei had been waiting for level 10 Berserk. He wanted to see what exactly this level 10 Berserk would do. Now, it was finally full. Level 10 Berserk, full state of striking energy value. Long Fei stared at the battle letter and laughed sinisterly. I'll test you first. It was also at this time Xianyuan tribesman reacted. A few clan elders immediately rushed over. Kid, return our clan leader's life. Today you will die here. Long Fei, go and die. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several figures flew up. They were all high-ranking elders of the Xianyuan nationality, and they all wanted to show off in front of the Zhan clan at this time, because if they were recognized by Zhan Yi, they could very well become the next Battle Clan patriarch. However, they had forgotten how Xianyuan Lai had died. Just as their figures entered the range of Long Fei's airflow, they immediately went on a killing spree. They were just like Xianyuan Lai, who could not even make a sound. It could be said that it was an instant kill. If you go in, you die. There was no chance at all. Battle letter's forehead sank. He had always been thinking, constantly thinking, just what kind of power was it? At this time, one of the Zhan's elder whispered, Elder, I will try. Shua. He flew straight up into the air and pierced down towards Long Fei's head when his sword was 3 meters away from Long Fei's head. Crack! Crack! Kacha! After turning into a cloud of blood mist, he was different from Xianyuan tribesman. He let out a loud roar and said with a heavy voice, Sword chi! Sword chi! And then, instant kill. Death. The system sounded out. To be able to kill a divine in an instant, this power was too terrifying. Sword chi? With these 2 words, Long Fei's body did not have any sword chi at all. It was only the airflow. Could it be that the airflow was the sword chi? Yi Zichen frowned. Long Fei did not have the slightest bit of sword intent. How could there be sword chi? But it was impossible for that elder to deceive him. Sword chi, sword chi. The war letter kept on going through his mind, but suddenly the center of his brows shook as he thought of the stream of air in the sky. He suddenly became alarmed and looked at Long Fei. Could it be? Have you comprehended the true meaning of Sky Shatter Sword? Rumble! The sky exploded. A thunderous roar rang out. At this moment, the elders in the clan hall of the Xianyuan nationality flew out, one after another. Long Fei grinned coldly and said, Now you know? Battle letter's expression sank and said, Sky Shatter Sword is a huge lie. So what if he exists? You want to kill me? Ha ha ha. He did not put any Sky Shatter Sword in his eyes at all. He could kill gods. The strongest in Chaos Realm is a god. It is impossible to kill a god. Can't kill you? Then let's give it a try. Long Fei roared, a powerful energy brewing out. The heaven-decimating sword in his hand moved. Sky Shatter Sword, cut for me. Chapter 1599. Sky Shatter Sword, instant kill. Chapter 1599. Sky Shatter Sword, instant kill. Rumble. The Sword of Destroy moved, its sword chi shooting up into the sky. Clouds swirled in the air, sinking, sinking. It was as if the sky had been pierced. Moreover, everything within a radius of 10,000 kilometers was enveloped in sword chis. Sky-breaking force. It's the sky-breaking sword technique. It was a sword technique left behind by the master. How could it be? How did he figure it out? When countless Xianyuan tribesmen felt this powerful sword chi, they were all stunned. After millions of years of time, they had not even been able to comprehend a single fart, yet Long Fei only used 3 days of time to comprehend it. Why is that? He didn't understand it at all. Those elders from the Elders' Pavilion had ugly expressions on their faces. It was as if they had been humiliated. At the same time, they were shocked that the heaven-breaking sword technique that had disappeared for millions of years could appear in the world again. That was to say, as long as Long Fei was willing to teach them the heaven-breaking sword technique, they could too. I've comprehended it. Long Fei comprehended it. Aoya excitedly smiled. She and Long Fei had comprehended the heaven-breaking sword technique together, but she had layers upon layers of shackles on her. She was unable to comprehend the true meaning of the powerful sword technique, but Long Fei was able to do it. What heaven-breaking sword technique? Li Yuanba and the others were confused. They did not know that Long Fei had been training the heaven-breaking sword technique for the past 3 days. You will know soon enough. The battle letter sneered. What nonsense is this heaven-breaking sword technique? It is only the Xianyuan nationality lying to his descendants. Even with this sword technique, in this chaos realm, it is also the god that is king. Boom. Battle letter's aura exploded. Unrivaled divine might. The strong power erupted like a volcano. Jean Xian's eyes turned sinister as he stared at the chi flow revolving around Long Fei's body. He said, Long Fei die. Shua. With a single step, he exploded forth. Too fast. It was so fast that even the reaction of the idea could not keep up. The letter of war had brought out the full potential of the divine level realm, and no one could stop it. However, he was fast. The heaven-smiting sword intent that erupted from Long Fei's body was even faster. The sword of destroy in his hand slashed out. Shua. A beam of light shot out, like a shooting star. Sword chi. The sword energy at the speed of light formed a thin line as it slashed down. Boom. A loud sound was heard as the sword chi slammed into Jean Xian's chest. Then Jean Xian fiercely charged forward with a schwa-schwa sound. Swish, swish, swish. The letter of war was thrown into the void. Bang, bang, bang. Layer after layer of explosions occurred in the air. Wherever the sword chis went, a thin crack appeared, as if there was a thread in the sky. Ah, ah, ah. The letters of war constantly issued out miserable cries. His back hit the air and was badly mutilated. Moreover, he continuously used his strength to resist, but it was completely useless. It was simply impossible to break free. Injure my brother? With just you? Long Fei's eyes were brimming with anger. That's great. You say that I don't have the qualifications? Now, are we F asterisk asterisk king qualified enough? Huh. Long Fei was like a madman. He roared like a devil, the millions of holy source on his body crazily consumed. The sword aura, released by the sword of destroy, crazily crushed him. A god, level battle, letter didn't have the slightest temper. He couldn't break free at all, and it was incomparably uncomfortable. Schwa, thousands of meters away. One line went through the other, slicing the valley into a straight line, and another line appeared. The letter of war fell on the ground, still gasping for breath as it shouted, Long Fei, I will definitely not let you go. You won't let me go? Ha ha ha. Do you think I'll let you go? Just now, he had only released a stream of sword chi, but the power of that sword chi had instantly taken over half of Jean Xian's life. However, at this moment, Long Fei leapt into the air. Looking at the fallen war letter, he smiled sinisterly and said, This is only the beginning. Jean Xian's face darkened. You dare to kill me? Don't say it's you. Even if it's your ancestor, your father will still kill him. Long Fei struck down with his heavy blow, sky-breaking slash. Instant kill. His sword slashed down, right at the top of Jean Xian's head. In that instant, the aura within 1,000,000 kilometers seemed to have been sucked out completely by the heaven-decimating sword in Long Fei's hands. All the forces within 1,000,000 kilometers were in operation. Deity, he too would die. The power to destroy gods was a power that was even stronger than gods. 1,000,000 kilometers of all of the power was superior to a one-star divine level powerhouse. This was the power Long Fei grasped to kill gods. No, no, no. Long Fei, I beg of you, don't kill me, don't kill me. Kill my Jean clan, and I will not let you off. Don't kill me. The crotch of the war letter was wet. He was scared to the point of peeing. Facing death, he was incomparably afraid. This feeling was something he had never felt before. Long Fei looked down from above and said, I won't kill you. Beg me, kneel down and beg me. The battle letter seemed to have no hesitation as it instantly kneeled on the ground and said, Long Fei, I beg you, don't kill me. Long Fei continued, Kowtow, kneel down and kowtow and beg me. Bang, bang, bang. The letter knocked on his head with a loud bang and said, Don't kill me. I will kowtow to you. I will kowtow to you. Long Fei yelled, Tell me, what kind of power does Zhan Wushuang want to obtain from Lear? The war letter hesitated for half a second. Long Fei roared out, Speak or not? The battle letter immediately said, Container, the power that the Xianyuan nationality women have inherited can resist the heavenly tribulation. Once a relationship is formed, Xianyuan Li heir will bear the heavenly tribulation in Zhan Wushuang's place, and the peerless divine spark will be condensed so that it will not be affected at all. F***CK. Long Fei could not help but let out a string of vulgarities as he roared, How treacherous! All of your Zhan clan members will die. Incomparable rage. Xianyuan Li heir was actually treated as a container, and she wanted to bear the heavenly tribulation in Zhan Wushuang's place. This, Long Fei was furious. The heaven-breaking sword chi that exploded from his body became even more intense. The battle letter's eyes trembled and said, You said you'd let me go. Long Fei, you can't go back on your words. You can't do this. Long Fei laughed coldly. This old man is messing with you. From the moment you stepped into the Xianyuan prefecture, you were destined to die. Do you think I'll let you go? Long Fei thought, You want me to release a super boss just because you want me to? Just consider it as me agreeing. Even my level 10 berserk did not agree. In that instant, Long Fei slashed down with a heavy sound. Explode for me, Under the bombardment of the force within 1,000,000 kilometers, the sky shook, and the earth shook, and the mountains shook. It was like the end of the world. The moment the sword's blade fell, the bloody gash on the top of the battle letter instantly disappeared. The system sounded out. Ding! Chapter 1600, Level 10 Berserk, Heaven's Eyes. Chapter 1600, Level 10 Berserk, Heaven's Eyes. With a loud whoosh, a large tube of blood fell to the ground, and a damaged figure that even Long Fei could not count floated up above his head. Violent kill. The system chimed in. In that moment, Long Fei became excited, and the idea moved. Release Level 10 Berserk. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing battle letter for obtaining 8 billion experience, 10 million holy source points, and 10 energy values points. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the 9 underworld blood vein. Do you wish to fuse it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the battle god sword. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Holy Bone Sword of the Yellow Springs. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Purple Gold Divine Robe. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 1-star Godhood. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the Heavenly Bone Shrek. Do you wish to fuse it? One after another, notifications buzzed in his ears. However, these things were only the basics of the Super Boss battle letter. These things were all at the Holy Artifact level. Long Fei did not have the time to check their stats. He was extremely excited in his heart because the main attraction was the Level 10 Berserk trigger. Long Fei's heart tightened. Come, let me see the Berserk power of you Level 10. Ding! System notification. Player Long Fei has triggered Level 10 Berserk. Please choose series: Domain Treasure Series, Heavenly Treasure Series, Prehistoric Series, Cartoon Series, Mecha Series, Wyman Series, Universe Unknown Series. System notification. Player Long Fei has triggered Level 10 Berserk. Please select series. A familiar feeling, series after series, appeared in Long Fei's mind. What should I choose? Long Fei was troubled again. He only had one chance. If he couldn't make a good choice, then he was screwed. Huff. Long Fei took a deep breath. The idea moved and said, choose the Heavenly Court series. Immediately after, the system's interface closed, and the system's notification sound rang out. Long Fei's eyes slightly closed. His heart tensed up. This was the Level 10 Berserk, which he had spent more than a year's worth of effort to earn. It must drop something good. He absolutely could not be a F***er. Really nervous. Just like his wife, who was about to enter the delivery room to give birth, Long Fei was waiting anxiously outside the door. This was the feeling he had right now. Bring it on. Long Fei's gaze shook, and he shouted out softly, Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Heaven's Eye. The system announcement sounded out. Long Fei was startled. Heaven's Eyes. In his mind, there was an eye that was the same as an ordinary person's. There was no difference, not even the slightest fluctuation of energy. At this moment, ding! System prompt. Do you wish to absorb the sky? Long Fei was a little confused as he muttered, Damn, it's such a scam. No? I'm terribly disappointed. He thought it was a main artifact or something, but what was this called? An eye? What could he do? See who's a monster? Thousandly, could he see thousands of miles away? For a moment, Long Fei was very dejected. He had worked so hard for so long, and now an eye burst out from the Level 10 Berserk. Even if it was Erlang Shun's eyes, he was 2F** king blind. It completely did not meet Long Fei's expectations. Level 10 Berserk. Several hundreds of thousands of striking energy value were wiped out just like that. Long Fei's heart ached. System, damn you! Long Fei grumbled. He was not in a hurry to fuse with the Heaven's Eyes, and instead took a look at its properties. Item: Heaven's Eye attribute. Strength. Description. They were all question marks without any indication. This time, Long Fei wanted to die. He muttered, "I don't believe in love anymore. It's too much of a bully." His heart was bleeding. However, his choice, even if it was SH*T, would have to be eaten up. Long Fei moved and said, "Let's fuse them." His heart was filled with desolation. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for merging with Heaven's Eye. In that instant, a power appeared between Long Fei's brows. He laughed coldly at himself and thought to himself, "Is it really Erlang Shun's eyes? Your sister, why would I need that eye?" Erlang Shun had even summoned his scatter seeds, which become soliders before, so Long Fei was more interested in its eyes. He would rather fuse with Monkey Sun's fiery golden eyes. However, the heavens would not give him a second choice. Otherwise, he would definitely not choose the Heavenly Court series. Humph! Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief. Just as he wanted to exit the system, he felt a surge of energy in his head that was ready to move at any moment, as if it was going to break out of his body. This feeling was very special. The idea moved. Long Fei took a look at the attribute of the Heaven's Eye after merging with it. He didn't know whether to look or not. Long Fei was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Holy SH*T, so you want to explode? Long Fei was dumbstruck. His heart was beating even faster. He was truly confused. War device, Heaven's Eye rank, deputy main artifact, strength, super skills, sky, eye purple light shot, treasure seeking, heal. Description. The Heaven's Eyes are formed from a piece of debris from the heavens. It possesses immense power, powerful attacks, super supplementary powers, and super healing powers. TL. Description 2? Description 3. Other than description 1, there was only one other description. This meant that there were still attributes that had yet to be developed for the Sky Eye. Long Fei did not pay any attention to the others. Looking at purple light shot, he thought to himself, "What kind of power is this super attack? Can you demonstrate it?" Ding! The system interface opened. At this time, the image in Long Fei's mind stirred. He opened his Heaven's Eyes, and a purple light shot out. A few thousand meters away, a thick purple light firmly locked onto an object. The object exploded. At the same time, with a sweep of purple light, an immeasurably deep gully appeared on the ground. This damage was reminded of the main city's cannon tower in the LOL game. A ray of fiery light shot onto your body, and the tube of blood instantly ran dry. That rhythm. Explosions. It was a stroke of luck. An extremely powerful attack. Powerful to the point where you couldn't even imagine it. Moreover, to a certain extent, the purple light power released by the Heaven's Eyes definitely surpassed the divine level powerhouse S of the Chaos Realm S. However, Long Fei had not tested it yet, so there was no guarantee as to how strong he was. At this moment, several clan elders of the Xianyuan nationality surrounded Long Fei's head. The scene, just now, was something they would never forget. Sky Shatter Sword S, sword chi that broke the sky, sword force that went against the heavens. They had never seen such a powerful force in their lives. It was this kind of power that they had neglected for millions of years. To be exact, it should be because they had wasted millions of years of time. Many of their clansmen wanted to comprehend the true meaning of the Sky Shatter Sword, but no one succeeded. Over time, even their Xianyuan tribesman thought that the Sky Shatter Sword was only a lie, an enormous lie. doubt its existence. However, now that he appeared before them, they were stupefied. Long Fei raised his eyes, looked at the 8 grand elders, and smiled. Is someone coming to die? Chapter 1601. If you dare, try it. Chapter 1601. If you dare, try it. The Xianyuan nationality was the most ancient clan of the Chaos Realm. He had existed for even longer than the 9 secret warrior family. Long Fei looked up at the 8 great elders in the sky and asked, "What do you want to do?" The 8 of them looked at each other, and then, whoosh, 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 one figure after another descended and surrounded Long Fei. Everyone's face was extremely serious. Long Fei's lips curled into a faint smile, and thought to himself, "Looks like I really have to test the power of my heaven's eyes. You are all leveling up powerhouse of the Blend FO Godhead, so using you all to test its power should be pretty good." Suyun said with a smile. Long Fei connected to the heaven eyes. As long as he gave the command, the sky eye would be activated. At that time, however, what Long Fei did not expect was that the 8 of them suddenly knelt down on one knee. One by one, they kneeled on the ground. Long Fei was a little confused. He was not afraid of the 8 people attacking him. But what the hell was going on? "What are you all doing?" Long Fei asked in confusion. One of the elders said, "Long Fei, you are the first person to comprehend a sky shatter sword in the past few million years. Although you are not someone from the Xianyuan nationality, but according to the rules of the Xianyuan nationality, you are the direct disciple of our master, and also our elder. That's right. You are now the supreme existence in the Xianyuan nationality. In addition, you have the qualifications to receive our kowtow." All of them were incomparably excited. Not to mention kneeling, they were even willing to kowtow. The Sky Shatter Sword was of great significance to the Xianyuan nationality. Its existence was something that Long Fei could not even imagine, and they also respected it from the bottom of their hearts, because Long Fei had comprehended a Sky Shatter Sword. This was because he was the first person in millions of years. Once, there were countless powerhouse of the way of the sword that came to the primal chaos continent to study Sky Shatter Sword, but not a single one of them succeeded. Xianyuan nationality had once selected countless outstanding disciples, but none of them succeeded and wasted a lot of time. Now that the Sky Shatter Sword had reappeared in the human world, they were all excited. Long Fei muttered in his heart, "I was even thinking of testing the power of the purple light from the heaven's eyes. Isn't this too boring?" And then Long Fei said, "All of you get up. There is no need to do this. No, you should accept our kneeling. I am deeply ashamed of what I said and did a few days ago. If I had attacked you back then, I would never have been able to see the power of a Sky Shatter Sword. I would have regretted it for the rest of my life." The Grand Elder blamed himself. Long Fei laughed in his heart. "If you were to attack me, it is true that you will not be able to see the power of the Sky Shatter Sword, because you are already dead." He said, "It's fine. OL 9th, you're really something. You almost destroyed the hopes of our Xianyuan nationality." "Exactly. OL 9th, you almost became a sinner of the Xianyuan nationality." "OL 9, you can have some snacks, right?" They all began to laugh and criticize him. 9th brother couldn't even lift his head up. He muttered, "This is not even the Elders' Pavilion's decision. It's not worth it if I say it. It's all Xianyuan Lai's fault. He misled us. Actually, it wasn't their fault. It was normal for them to give up individuals for the sake of their family. After all, currently, the Zhan clan was simply too powerful, so powerful that even they were afraid of them. They did not want to offend Zhan clan because of Long Fei, and did not want to destroy Xianyuan nationality because of Long Fei. However, it was different for Long Fei now that he had comprehended Sky Shattersword. The might of Sky Shattersword could behead the gods. The battle letter was a super powerhouse which had been created using his divine spark. Even when he was under the Sky Shattersword, he wet himself in fear and trembled as he fought, so the other powerhouse were not worth mentioning. Why should I be afraid now? The group of 9 returned to Xianyuan Prefecture. At this time, the 8 King Kongs had already been controlled by the Xianyuan nationality disciples and were being captured one by the 2 disciples. The current 8 King Kong pubes had been crippled. He had lost all his cultivation, and coupled with his heavy voice, he couldn't even be compared to an ordinary person. Other than 8 King Kong, Nangong Yen, as well as the dying Xianyuan Xiong, were all controlled. They did not know what was happening outside the mountain. However, they knew that they could not afford to offend the Zhan clan. They could not afford to offend them. Furthermore, Long Fei had killed so many Xianyuan nationality elders. The 8 great elders of the Elder Pavilion would definitely not spare Long Fei when they rush out. Out of the 4 remaining Zhan's elders, there was only 1 remaining. At this moment, Long Fei's ice-cold voice transmitted into the courtyard and coldly said, "Who wants to die?" The entire audience was stunned. They all looked at Long Fei. The Zhan's elder's body trembled slightly as he shouted in a low voice, "Long Fei, you dog, you dare to touch my Zhan clan." Not waiting for him to finish, "Pa!" A slap landed on his face. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. His face was red and swollen. His body sprawled on the ground from the slap. Divine? So weak? Even Long Fei himself was surprised. My strength seems to have become a lot stronger than before. In the past, he would only be able to crush powerhouses that were semi-god level, but now, divine-level powerhouses could do the same and easily. This caused Long Fei to be secretly shocked. Could it be because of the fusion of the heaven eyes? "You dare hit me?" Zhan's elder got up from the ground as a divine light flickered on his body. "So what if I hit you? Stand firm." The moment Zhan's elder steadied himself, Long Fei pulled up his hair and slapped him hard across the face. He had to move fast and move smoothly. "Pa!" Zhan's elder was prepared, but his speed was not enough at all. He wanted to defend, but his defense was instantly destroyed, making him feel as if Long Fei was a divine-ranked powerhouse after his tribulation. He was once again slapped to the ground. His face was swollen like a pig's head. A few of the clan elders of the Xianyuan nationality shouted, "Long Fei, are you tired of living? If you touch him again, I'll kill them immediately." A few disciples shouted and pressed down 8 King Kong's body. The 8 people's faces darkened, revealing painful expressions, but they did not make any sounds. However, Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. "Try touching one of them." While they were talking, Long Fei stepped right on Zhan's elder's face. Another heavy kick landed on the tower. Bang! "Try moving one of them." Bam! Every time Long Fei stomped his feet, a faint aura of divine light would emit from them, and the Zhan's elder beneath his feet would become like a dead dog. The Xianyuan nationality elder's face turned sinister. "Long Fei, do you think we're afraid of you? Kill all his brothers." When the word "kill" fell, Long Fei instantly changed his expression. He immediately grabbed onto the speaker's neck with one hand and moved his 2 fingers. "Kacha!" He crushed his throat. A sinister voice sounded out. "If you have the guts, then move out and give it a try. Let's see who F***King wants to live longer." Chapter 1602, Recovery, 0%. Chapter 1602, Recovery, 0%. His voice was icy cold as it crushed everyone present. No one dared to move. The aura being emitted from Long Fei's body was simply too terrifying, and felt that it was even more terrifying than the divine aura of Warletter. It made them unable to breathe. At this time, the 8 elders walked into the courtyard. Upon seeing what was happening, they immediately cried out, "Release him immediately and call for the best physician." Everyone was taken aback. An elder said, "Grand Elder Long Fei and the others killed Zhan's elder, and they also killed our Xianyuan nationality's elders. We cannot let him go." Seeing the 8 great elders walk into the courtyard, they immediately became more imposing. "Long Fei, prepare to die. You still dare to be arrogant. With the 8 great elders here, let's see how long you can continue being so arrogant." Now that the 8 great elders had appeared, they naturally had to vent all their resentment. However, these elders who were speaking were swept a glance by Ninth Brother, and then coldly said, "From now on, you are no longer the elders of the Xianyuan nationality." Everyone was dumbfounded. "Grand Elder, why? Did we do something wrong?" OL9 indifferently said, "You didn't do anything wrong, but your words made young Master Long Fei very unhappy. This is where you're at, if you ask again. Evicted from the Xianyuan prefecture, never to enter again." Those Xianyuan nationality elders were stunned. What was going on? He couldn't react for a long time. Zhan's elder, who was crawling on the ground, stared at OL9 and shouted, "You 8 old things must have gone crazy, right? I will now order you all to capture Long Fei, not waiting for him to finish." OL9's figure moved. His palm struck Zhan's elder's chest, and he shouted out, "I have tolerated your Zhan family for a long time." Bam! A palm flew out. The Zhan's elder exploded outwards, falling a few hundred meters away, dying. Long Fei said slightly, "Don't kill him, I'm still useful." OL9 immediately nodded, "As you command." It was as if he was Long Fei's servant, and it wasn't just his other 7 grand elders who were also the same. "Hurry up and let them go." OL9 let out a heavy shout. Those disciples who had caught hold of 8 King Kong immediately let go, and because they had let go, none of the 8 King Kong-s were able to stand steadily. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, they fell to the ground. Li Yuanba spat out a mouthful of black blood, his face extremely pale, the pain in his abdomen continuing without end. He could clearly feel his strength disappearing from his body. Right now, he was like an old man in his prime who could die at any moment. "Yuanba!" Long Fei stepped forward. Li Yuanba grinned foolishly and said, "Boss, I'm fine." Long Fei held Li Yuanba up as he looked at his abdomen, his heart sinking. At the beginning, he only knew that 8 King Kong was injured, but he didn't expect it was actually the pubes that had been crippled. Cluck, cluck. Long Fei clenched his teeth. The flames of anger on his body started to burn crazily. The killing intent was strong. The entire courtyard was covered in the scent of death. F***CK. Long Fei's killing intent churned in his heart, wishing that he could pull the battle letter out of hell and kill him another 100,000 times. Li Yuanba laughed foolishly. It didn't matter how big the matter was as long as Long Fei was fine. After Long Fei had saved him, Long Fei had given him an exciting life. His life could go and die for Long Fei at any time. The rest of the King Kong was the same. They did not regret following Long Fei at all. Even though the pubes were now crippled by him, they had never regretted it. Long Fei looked at the other 7 King Kongs, each and every one of them having their pubes crippled, and his heart was bleeding. "My ancestor." And then Long Fei immediately said, "Help me bring them into the room." OL9th did not dare to ask because the aura on Long Fei's body was like explosives burning at the slightest bit. The 8 grand elders personally pulled 8 King Kong into the room. At the same time, Long Fei closed the door to his room, warned once, and said, "Without my command, no one is to take even half a step into this room." Ninth immediately said, "Young master, don't worry." Long Fei looked at the 8 of them and understood the pain of having their pubes crippled. To a warrior, a pubes was everything, and losing a pubes was equivalent to losing everything. Not being able to train was equivalent to being sentenced to death. Long Fei could not let his brother be destroyed like this. He wanted to save them. Huff! Long Fei let out a light breath and said, "I have never tried it either. This is the first time, and I don't know if it's painful or not." Aoya said, "We are already useless. No matter how much pain we suffer, we have yet to become useless. Boss, don't worry. Boss, don't worry. Bring it on. We're ready." 8 King Kong was never afraid. Pubes was a very special existence. Once it was broken, even if there was a miracle medicine to repair it, it was useless. Even if it was repaired, it was useless. He could no longer think about how his strength would be greatly reduced. He would never be able to reach the peak. However, they did not want to disappoint Long Fei. No matter what Long Fei did, they would still give their all to cooperate with him, even if they knew in their hearts that they would not be saved anymore. Long Fei said, "Okay, close your eyes. I will use the idea to communicate with you all." Huff! Get rid of distracting thoughts. One with my mind. 8 King Kong did as he was told, and his heart slowly calmed down. Long Fei moved. Sky, eye, open. Heavens, eye. With the power of healing. Long Fei didn't know how strong the power was, but at the moment, this was the only way Long Fei could think of to save the 8 King Kong. His pubes was broken, but he was not afraid because he had the system. The destruction of 8 King Kong's pubes meant that they could only become cripples. Long Fei absolutely could not allow that. Buzz. A faint buzzing of energy could be heard as a pair of eyes on Long Fei's forehead slowly opened. Long Fei controlled her and said, "Come, let me see your recovery power." The heavens eye flashed with a red light, just like scanning red light. His gaze swept across Li Yuanba's body and saw that the pubes S on his abdomen had been corroded. Buzz, buzz. Ding. System notification. Damage level S. Repair rate 0%. And then he scanned Lin Yusheng. Ding. System notification. Damage level S. Repair rate 0%. Ding. System notification. Damage S. Repair probability 0%. The 8 King Kong was all the same. The probability of pubes healing was 0. In other words, their pubes S are simply unable to be repaired. Long Fei panicked and said in his heart, "Impossible, impossible. There must be a way, there must be a way." Chapter 16:03 Steel Armor Pubes. Chapter 16:03 Steel Armor Pubes. He really was panicking. 8 King Kong followed him from the gods' martial continent to the Chaos Realm. They had only died once in the gods' martial continent, and at that time, Long Fei's heart was in great pain. He swore to himself that he would not let them die again. But now, the pubes was crippled, and the chance of recovery was 0. To the 8 King Kong, what was the difference from death? Long Fei's pubes was broken. He was very clear of that kind of pain. No way. I must save them. I must save them. In Long Fei's memories, those people had mocked him, saying that he was the broken trash of the pubes, and that it was useless to laugh at him. He would never let these things happen to the 8 King Kong. What can we do? There must be a way. System, you must have a way, right? You must have a way. Please let me save them, begged. The 8 King Kong was his brother. He didn't want anything to happen to them. Neither the gods' martial continent nor the plane of the Chaos Realm had a single type of power that could completely restore Pubes. The Pubes shattered, unrecoverable existence. After being repaired, he was basically just a piece of trash. The system did not respond. It was only an AI program. How could it respond to Long Fei? Long Fei cried blood in his heart. Just at this moment, the Sleeping Beauty came out from within Long Fei's space ring and stood beside him. She could feel the pain in Long Fei's heart, and she couldn't help but shed tears to comfort him. She didn't know how to comfort Long Fei, because even she did not know how to repair the broken Pubes. To a certain extent, Pubes S could not be repaired. Be it in this plane or the one controlled by the universal world, they were both the same, irreparable. The Tai Ten King also fell silent. He could not find a way to repair it either. The colorful fairy dragon sighed. Gods war beasts, Bloody Bull of Underworld, Beast King Question of God were all the same. They could all feel the pain in Long Fei's heart, but they had no choice. He couldn't save her. Long Fei clenched his fists. They were tightly clenched, his nails digging into the flesh of his palms, causing dark red blood to drip out, and his teeth were about to break into pieces. But he didn't dare make a sound. Looking at 8 King Kong, his mind was filled with their laughter, their hard work, their unbridled arrogance, and their fearlessness. Long Fei roared in his heart. Why? Long Fei, what use do you have? You can't even protect your own brother, and you can't even protect your own woman. What's the use of you? What's your use? Long Fei deeply blamed himself as his heart bled. A smile hung on her face as she said, Long Fei, we really don't care about whether the Pubes can be repaired. Being able to follow you is the happiest thing in our lives, and is also the happiest thing in my life. Thank you, Li Yuanba followed. Boss, you gave me a name, gave me a new life, allowing me to live like a human. Thank you. The sky spirit giggled and said, Boss, you brought me out from the underworld. You made me take revenge, and you let me see the brilliance of this world. Thank you. Arhut said, Boss, there's nothing more to say. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Thank you. As the 8 King Kongs spoke one by one, Long Fei's heart felt even more uncomfortable. He kept searching. He kept thinking of ways to save them. But it was really hard, and he really couldn't find any way to repair their Pubes S. Long Fei bit his tongue and tried to control himself. He wouldn't let himself make any sound. There must be a way. There must be a way. Long Fei opened up the system again and again. He had even thought of inserting the power of the system into the 8 King Kong's body to make them into the same system players as him. That way, they wouldn't have to worry about the Pubes breaking down. He could not find such power. Merchant shop system. Merchant shop. Long Fei opened up the system's merchant shop and looked through the items one by one. Boss, it's good that we don't have Pubes S. Nothing will happen to us. Anyway, we've had a good time. Exactly. 8 King Kong's fame is also well known in Chaos Realm. The 8 people laughed as they spoke. They didn't want to make it difficult for Long Fei and didn't want to make it difficult for him. So they pretended to be indifferent. But Long Fei knew clearly in his heart that they were pretending. Is there no other way? Long Fei roared angrily in his heart. He didn't know why. A special item suddenly appeared on the final page of the merchant shop. Steel armor Pubes. This was because when Long Fei saw it, it was still a piece, but in just a few seconds, it had become 8 pieces. It was just enough for 8 people. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Could the system have heard Long Fei's begging? Could it be that the system was pitying Long Fei, pitiful 8 King Kong? Or could it be that the system was monitoring Long Fei? Long Fei's heart skipped a beat. He currently couldn't care so much. Seeing the attribute of steel armor pubes, his blood also instantly boiled. Yi Zichen stopped thinking. Long Fei moved his body and sent a sound transmission to them. I found a way, not to help you guys repair the pubes, but to implant a brand new pubes for you guys. This pubes might be different from your previous pubes, but it will be stronger than any pubes in the world. And Long Fei looked at the attributes of the steel armor pubes. God. Water King Kong, Steel Armor Pubes Water, the Holy King Kong, Steel Armor Pubes Power, Yuling Guardian Warrior, Spirit of the Steel Armor Pubes, Sword Force King Kong, Steel Armor Pubes, Sword Arrogant Knife King Kong, Steel Armor Pubes Blade, Anti-Magic Vajras, Evil Steel Armor Pubes, Steel Armor Pubes Defense, Arhut King Kong, Steel Armor Pubes Dragon, 8 pieces of Steel Armor Vajra, with 8 special attributes. They were all specially prepared for the 8 King Kong, for their unique powers. Very special. Coincidence? Long Fei himself was a little stupefied seeing this, but he didn't want to care about that now. Whether it was a coincidence or the system's deliberate arrangement, the only thing on his mind right now was to save his brother. I'm ready. When Long Fei got excited about how these steel armor pubes were implanted into their bodies, their cultivation would definitely soar crazily. Just thinking about it made him excited. The 8 people were stunned. At the same time, he nodded and said, "Boss, come at me." Immediately, Long Fei said that he had exchanged everything he could for the steel armor pubes. Ding! Deducting 800 million points. Ding! Deducting 800 million points. Chapter 1604. Dividing the soldiers into 2. Chapter 1604. Dividing the soldiers into 2 announcements sounded one after another. Almost all of Long Fei's holy artifact and treasures had been taken out, but he didn't care. As long as he could save the 8 King Kong, he could even exchange these main artifact. A few minutes later, the system sounded out. Ding! The steel armor pubes power has been successfully implanted. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Yuanba fiercely glared at him as though he was glaring at King Kong. All the energy in his body immediately burned up like flames. In the past, it was just the strength stripes, but now the strength in his body was completely different, as if there was a chemical reaction. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosive sounds rang. Li Yuanba clenched both his fists tightly, his divine power surging. His entire person was incomparably excited as he said, "He's back. He's back. His strength is back. That's not right. It's stronger than before. Boss, inside my body, my pubes." Li Yuanba laughed very happily, feeling the heat from deep within the pubes, feeling the power that was 100% compatible with his own body. His strength instantly rose dramatically. However, this was just the beginning. Next, boom, ding, the steel armor pubes sword was implanted. Oya's eyes quivered as if she had just awakened. The sword chime raged and roared. Ding! The steel armor pubes has been successfully implanted. Ha ha ha! The body of the fat man Chinball rolled and suddenly bounced up, laughing crazily in excitement. My strength is back. Excited laughter sounded. One by one, the steel armor pubes were planted in, and looking at their smiles, Long Fei was indescribably happy in his heart. In just half an hour, all 8 attribute steel armor pubes had been successfully implanted, and the 8 King Kong had recovered to its normal state, becoming even more powerful than before. Boss, what's this? The Holy Spirit could not help but ask. I feel that the pubes in front of me is completely different from the one in front of me right now, as if it possesses endless power. Furthermore, The power inside is 100% compatible with the power that I am cultivating in without any impurities. Shock. They were shocked beyond words. The power they trained in was indeed very special. The attributes are different. However, in the past, there would always be impurities of different attributes in their powers. But now, there was not the slightest bit of impurities. It was completely compatible with their diamond force. A perfect fit. Yeah, boss, what exactly is our pubes? What a strange power. I feel like I'm twice as strong as before, and there are still a lot of undeveloped parts to the pubes. If I really create all of them, how strong would that be? The 8 of them were all very curious. These 8 steel armor pubes had the same attributes as them. How could there be such a coincidence in the world? Long Fei did not explain in detail, and he had no way of explaining it clearly to them. Furthermore, he did not plan to tell anyone about the system, and said with a smile, "This is a special kind of pubes. It is formed completely according to the power you guys cultivate. Don't worry, it will not make you stronger. Steel armor pubes, liquid metal. From now on, their pubes would never be damaged." The 8 King Kong did not ask any more questions as they all became excited. "Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss," the 8 of them said in unison. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Go out." At this moment, the 8 grand elders of the Elder Pavilion personally guarded the door. They immediately walked forward when they saw the door being pushed open. Then they saw 8 King Kong walking out one after the other, completely unharmed. Furthermore, the auras on their bodies were even more tyrannical and powerful than before the pubes was destroyed. The 8 of them were shocked. They all looked at Long Fei. Nan Gongyan and Xianyuan Xiong, who was slightly better, walked forward. "Are you all right?" Long Fei smiled faintly. "I'm fine. The young lord is indeed the young lord. Incredible. To think that there would be such an amazing hand that could even repair the broken pubes. He really is someone who can inherit the master's sky-breaking sword technique." All 8 grand elders were shocked. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Senior is praising me. It's just a coincidence." After dinner, Xianyuan Nationality's secret meeting room. 8 grand elders, Long Fei, Xianyuan Xiong. Annihilating 9 secret warrior family is extremely difficult. Have you really thought about it? Xianyuan Xiong looked at Long Fei and asked seriously. Long Fei nodded his head and said, "I came here this time to look for the Zhan clan's position. I must knock him down. If there is any danger to Zhan clan, Zhan Wushuang will definitely come out at that time. If I kill him again, I can also call Lear." 9th brother said, "Your plan is not bad, but young Master Long Fei, have you thought about the power of Zhan clan? As far as I know, the battle letter is only the weakest of the 9 great master. There are too many souls of divine level powerhouse hidden within the 9 secret borders, and there's even a dragon tomb rumored to be not waiting for him to finish." Long Fei's brows moved. "You said dragon tomb just now?" Stunned, 9th brother replied, "That's right. The reason why the 9 Master S of the Zhan clan were able to condense divine sparks was all because of the power of the dragon tomb. Otherwise, how could they have made a breakthrough? Dragon tomb? Dragon soul? The last ingredient that the colorful fairy dragon needs. If we can find the dragon soul, then the colorful fairy dragon can completely recover its strength." The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up as he laughed excitedly. At this moment, 9 continued, "Even if the Zhan clan is defeated, if the Zhan clan members hide in the 9 secret borders, there is nothing we can do. As long as Zhan Wushuang breaks through and condenses his divine spark with his innate talent, I'm afraid you—" This was indeed a problem. Once Shan Wushuang managed to condense his divine spark, he would be stronger than any ancestors of Zhan's. Because he was someone selected by the ancestors of Zhan's, and from the moment he was born, he had already merged with the main artifact, an existence that no one could stop. Long Fei had initially planned to surround Wei and save Zhao, but hearing his words, it was possible that even Zhan clan would not be able to. So even if they surrounded Zhan Wushuang, they might not appear. What should I do? Long Fei fell into deep thought for a moment. Zhan clan must go. The tower question of God also wanted to go. Which way should we go? She was still safe before Xian Yuan. Li air broke through the 100 levels of the god's tower. But what kind of breakthrough was it that mattered to her? No one knew. Long Fei was not confident either. Split the troops into two. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Xian Yuan Xiong raised his head, looked at Long Fei, and said, "What do you want to do?" Long Fei said, "I will go to the Zhan clan alone, and all of you will head to the tower question of God. Nangong Yen will know the way, and she will bring you all to the tower question of God. Don't worry about me. I'll be there in an instant." He had a super teleportation ability that allowed him to teleport instantly after piercing into the Spirit Mountain range. This was the only method that Long Fei could think of at the moment. Chapter 1605. Zhan Wushuang breaking through the god's tower. Chapter 1605. Zhan Wushuang breaking through the god's tower the next morning. Outside the Cloud Sky Valley, the 8 Grand Elders, the 8 King Kong, as well as Nangong Yen and the rest of the elite disciples from the Xianyuan nationality stood at the side. Long Fei stood alone at the side. "Boss, you have to be careful by yourself." "Boss, do you want me to follow you?" Chen Tianfei said with worry. Even the 8 King Kong was worried. They all wanted to follow Long Fei. Long Fei said, "The tower question of God needs you even more. The saintess are all very strong, especially the tower master of the tower question of God. He should be a powerhouse who has condensed his divine spark. Once Zhan Wushuang breaks through, you guys can leave and continue to fight." Xian Yuan Xiong looked at Long Fei and asked, "What about you?" "After all, that's the 9 secret warrior family. 9 secret borders. It's definitely not something an ordinary person can enter." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry, I will be fine." "All right, let's go." Aoya and Nangong Yen looked at Long Fei at the same time, their eyes filled with reluctance. Long Fei was the same, however, had no choice but to hurry up. At any time, Zhan Wushuang could break through the 100 levels of God's tower and enter the ancient holy battlefield at any time. Furthermore, Xian Yuan Li Air could become his container at any time, and by then it would be too late. Huff! Long Fei exhaled and carried the dying Zhan's elder up. The idea moved and summoned the tumbling cloud, saying, "Lead the way." "Ha ha!" Zhan's elder sneered. "Long Fei, just you wait when we get to the Zhan clan. You will definitely die." Whoosh! The tumbling cloud moved and instantly flew out. Xian Yuan Xiong said softly, "Let's go." Within the tower question of God. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A series of sword hums rang out. Zhan Wushuang attacked consecutively with madness. The long sword in his hand was so fast that he could not see it clearly. From every direction, 10,000 illusions seemed to have enveloped the Saint Presbyter completely. The scene was shocking. Xian Yuan Li Air stood at the side, with a face full of shock. The strength that Zhan Wushuang displayed was truly powerful. At least she was not a match for him. He couldn't help it. Xian Yuan Li Air clenched his fists. Owner of Tower Question of God had a faint smile on his face. He was extremely satisfied with Zhan Wushuang's strength. In a short span of 2 years, he was pleasantly surprised by Zhan Wushuang's speed of growth. It was certain that Zhan Wushuang would do well to enter the ancient holy battlefield, and he would definitely be rewarded a lot when he gets there. Thinking about that, the smile on the owner of Tower Question of God's face became wider. He's here. Suddenly, Zhan Wushuang suddenly shouted, retracting his sword intent, causing the shadows in all directions to retract and quickly superimpose on the body of the real face. Wushuang, one strike! Shua! The sword slay shattered the void. The strong sword intent made the entire Tower Question of God tremble. A single sword strike was unrivaled in this world. This sword was extremely sharp, and at the same time that he released this sword, the power in his body formed a strong resonance, the gods' shield illusions themselves forming thick rays of golden light without being summoned. Power, resonance, boom. A sword pierced through the chest of the saint on the 100th floor. Buffed, saint was forced to retreat. He was immediately nailed to the wall by a strong sword chi, causing him to spurt out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't stop it. Not a bit. Saint swallowed a few medicinal pellets, forcefully suppressing the blood flow in his body, and said to Zhan Wushuang, "Congratulations, you've passed the 100th floor." As soon as he finished, the Tower Question of God, Tower Master, entered the 100th floor. At the same time, the vortex above the Tower Question of God started to spin layer by layer as a divine light enveloped the area. Buzz. A powerful divine force. This was an incomparable divine light in the chaos realm. The 100-layer saint's chest had been pierced through by Zhan Wushuang's sword, but at this moment, his wounds quickly healed as good as new. Owner of Tower Question of God became excited and directly kneeled on the ground, then said to Zhan Wushuang, "Ancient holy battlefield's secret world is about to open. The Overgod is going to conduct a reward." Beneath the swirling vortex, a divine light enveloped the area. Thunder boomed in the sky as the entire chaos realm shook. Divine light appears. Someone broke through the 100 levels of the Tower Question of God. Someone has broken through the God's Tower. The entrance to the ancient holy battlefield is about to open. My God, how many years has it been? One chaos realm has finally appeared. Who is it? The entire chaos realm began to discuss. After all, this was an honor to the chaos realm. No matter who it was that broke the 100 floors of God's tower, it was still an honor to them. At this moment, Zhan Wushuang looked up at the sky, at the center of the vortex. Suddenly, a beam of red divine light shot straight into his sea of consciousness. Zhan Wushuang's eyes sank, and a voice resounded in his mind. Originally, Zhan Wushuang did not plan to kneel down, but now he suddenly knelt down with an excited expression, as if he had met his long-awaited family members. There was respect in his eyes. Owner of Tower Question of God was startled. He did not know why Zhan Wushuang would suddenly kneel down, nor did he know what the red light that was injected into his mind was. After a long time, Zhan Wushuang stood up from the ground. At this time, the divine light also disappeared. The entrance to the ancient holy battlefield also disappeared. Zhan Wushuang did not enter. The Tower Master of the Tower Question of God asked in shock, "Why aren't you going in?" Zhan Wushuang did not answer but looked at Xianyuan Lier and said, "Lier, I want to hold your hand and enter ancient holy battlefield together." Xianyuan Lier said coldly, "I won't enter the ancient holy battlefield. I will leave once I break through the 100th floor. I want to go find Big Brother Long Fei." This time, he did not get angry from embarrassment. Instead, he had a smile on his face, but his smile was a little sinister and terrifying. Owner of Tower Question of God asked again, "Wushuang, what is that red light What did the god reward you with? And why didn't you enter the ancient, holy battlefield? He did not understand. Zhan Wushuang still did not answer, but sat cross-legged and started cultivating. He was waiting for Xianyuan Li'er to break through the 100-layer of God's tower. When he received the red light just now, it was an idea, and there was an incomparably powerful inheritance within the idea that entered his body. Just as the ancestors of Zhan's had said, his cultivation level would soar to a whole new level. The key point was his God's shield. It evolved. At this moment, somewhere else, Long Fei saw the divine light slowly disappear, and his heart tightened. Zhan Wushuang, you broke through the god's tower? The Zhan's elder sneered and said, Long Fei, young Master Wushuang has already broken through the god's tower. Are you still his opponent? Ha ha. It was also at this time. Zhan's elder looked at the hidden valley not far away and said, The Zhan clan has arrived. Chapter 1606. Fury. Chapter 1606. Fury 1606. When Zhan Wushuang broke through to the god's tower, the entire plain was boiling. The number one genius of Chaos Realm lived up to his name at this moment. Everyone was excited. This was because in the past few thousand years, there had finally been someone who managed to break through the god's tower and enter the ancient holy battlefield, upgrading the plane. This way, the spirit energy of heaven and earth would be even denser in Chaos Realm. The most excited one was 9 Secret Warrior family. At Zhan family, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Zhan Tiantu laughed proudly. Wushuang, good job. You have finally broken through the shackles of the god's tower, and we feel honored. Father is proud of you. Patriarch, young Master Wushuang is the number one person in Chaos Realm. Our Zhan family will rise again soon enough. He's only 30 years old. I would like to ask, in the entire Chaos Realm, who would be able to do it? An existence that no one can match. Young Master Wushuang is too powerful. Every battle clan member's blood had been ignited. Zhan Wushuang breaking through the god's tower was of great significance to them. It meant that they had stepped onto a big step. Zhan Tiantu laughed. Pass down the order. Open the pill warehouse, weapon warehouse, library. You can choose any 3 from the battle family's disciples. As soon as he finished, the entire Zhan clan disciple cheered. The whole house was in a sea of joy. Zhan Tiantu quickly stepped into the 9 secret borders. He wanted to inform the Masteress that Zhan Wushuang had broken through the god's tower so that they could rejoice together. Half an hour later, 9 secret borders. The 8 elders were still sitting cross-legged around the dragon tomb, cultivating, their bodies slowly absorbing the energy aura emitted by the dragon tomb. Very thick, the dragon tomb continued to provide an unending stream of resources, just like the sea of energy. It was an inexhaustible supply. Zhan Tiantu had always dreamed of one day being able to cultivate the same kind of power as the master, so he was slightly dazed as he looked at the gigantic dragon tomb. After pausing for a few seconds, Zhan Tiantu kneeled down and said, Disciple Zhan Tiantu greets Master. One of the white-haired old man opened his eyes slightly. He did not look at Zhan Tiantu, but thought of another place instead. At this moment, not far away, a tablet had fallen to the ground. Suddenly, the white-haired old man's eyes narrowed, and he quickly stood up. With one step, he shouted, Junior brother. What did it mean to lose the tablet? Fall. There was a trace of the aura of a war letter inside the tablet. If the real face of the war letter died, the tablet would fall as well. There were also 8 tablets on this shelf. At this time, all the Master S opened their eyes and watched as the battle letter's tablet fell. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The entire 9 secret borders was trembling, and the war gods were all wailing in grief as they were extremely afraid of the power being emitted from their bodies. Who is it? The leading master instantly appeared in front of Jean Tiantu and used a wave of energy to lift him up. At this moment, Jean Tiantu thought that he was going to die, and it felt extremely uncomfortable. He kept shaking his head. I don't know, I really don't know. He didn't know. He really didn't know. Could anyone even defend against the ancestors of Zhan's? The entire Xianyuan nationality was also not Zhan Xian's match, so Jean Tiantu did not even think about it, and immediately after the battle letter departed, he believed that Long Fei was dead for sure. But now, his heart sank again. As the patriarch of the Zhan clan, what use do you have if you don't even know this little bit of information? The master was furious beyond compare. A powerful force roared out from his body, surging crazily from all directions. It was like a secret cave as it rushed towards Jean Tiantu. A dark energy wrapped around him like a black hole. Jean Tiantu couldn't say a word. He didn't even have the strength to struggle. In front of the master, he was too weak. They were both at the deity level, but the difference in their cultivations was like the difference between heaven and earth. Woo, woo, woo. Jean Tiantu was like he was being pushed into water. He moaned in pain. His eyes were bulging and filled with blood veins. At this time, another old man walked over and said lightly, "Boss, he is Wushuang's father, I think." The old man's eyes turned sinister as he coldly snorted, "Humph!" Jean Tiantu instantly fell to the ground and panted heavily. Half a second later, he immediately knelt down and kowtowed. "Disciple is useless, disciple is useless. Please forgive me, master. Disciple is useless." He no longer wanted to endure that feeling anymore. Humph. Incompetent. You are just a piece of trash. If it wasn't because of Wushuang, would you be qualified to be the clan master? What qualifications do you have to manage Zhan clan? If you can't even deal with Long Fei, whose pubes is broken, how can you be useless? Humph, he's just a useless piece of trash. The old man snapped at him mercilessly. Who was the war letter? He was their junior brother, and even more so, his own younger brother. Now he was dead. Furthermore, he did not even know who had killed him. How could he not be angry? Jean Tiantu kowtowed continuously and said, "Master is right, master is right. I am trash, I am trash." He was extremely afraid. He didn't dare to retort at all. However, Jean Tiantu hated Long Fei the most in his heart because it was Long Fei who made him suffer such an insult and almost died here. An old man said coldly, "Since you don't know about Zhan Xian's death, what are you doing here?" Jean Tiantu immediately said, "I want all the master to report that Wushuang broke through the god's tower." As soon as he finished, the 8 of them trembled simultaneously. An old man said, "What did you say just now?" "Say it again." Jean Tiantu became excited again and said, "Wushuang broke through the god's tower. Didn't the entrance of the ancient holy battlefield open just now? It's really just like what all the masters said. A red divine power descended from the sky. But I don't know if Wushuang has entered the battlefield yet." Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Without waiting for Jean Tiantu to finish speaking, the 8 elders all started to laugh, as expected of the person chosen by the master. Not bad, not bad. Chaos Realms #1 genius. Ha ha ha. The 8 of them were incomparably excited because Zhan Wushuang did not disappoint them and had even surprised them. This was because he was faster than their expectations, and it could be seen that Zhan Wushuang's potential was incomparably huge. The divine red light, it should be. An old man looked at the old man in the lead. The leader of the master smiled lightly and said, "That's right. That is the power of our Zhan clan's ancestor. It is the power to transform and evolve the god's shield that can fuse with Wushuang's life force. The true power of main artifact." Chapter 1607, Beginning Killing Mode. Chapter 1607, Beginning Killing Mode. Only a god could truly unleash the power of a main artifact. By condensing a divine spark, one could acquire divine power. Only by pouring divine power into the main artifact would they be able to completely unleash the power of the main artifact, and the power that erupted from the Chaos Realm would be just a tiny bit at the tip of the iceberg. Right now, he only needs to wait for the little girl from the Xianyuan nationality to break through the god's tower. Then he can borrow container to condense his divine spark, and at that time, his main artifact will become even more powerful. Even in the ancient holy battlefield, he would be able to stand tall, and it won't take long for him to become an overlord that the main temple places a lot of importance on. The Zhan clan is about to return to the divinity. It's time for the Zhan clan to rise again. Ha ha ha. No one can stop us now. After being in the Chaos Realm for so many years, the chance to return to the divinity finally arrived after lying in wait for us. The divinity is the true stage of our Zhan family. As long as Wushuang is able to obtain a super high combat achievement in ancient holy battlefield, our Zhan clan will definitely rise up. The key to all of this was Zhan Wushuang. Who could stop Zhan Wushuang, who brought a main artifact into the ancient holy battlefield? He was destined to dominate the entire ancient holy battlefield. Zhan Tiantu heaved a sigh of relief in his heart, because his son had saved his life, because his son would still be the clan master in the future. As long as his son didn't die, no one would be able to shake his position. At that time, returning to the divinity, even these master had to respect him a little. Then, an old man withdrew his expression and said, "Wushuang should still be in the tower question of God. He is waiting for that girl from Xianyuan nationality to break through. This is the right choice. The chances of success in condensing a divine spark are simply too low. The risk is too great. I have to borrow the power of the Xianyuan nationality." That's right. Think about it. If we did not cultivate the power of the dragon tomb, we would not have been able to withstand the baptism of the heavenly tribulation. That little girl's power is stronger than the power in the dragon tomb, and she can even help the peerless God Spark. The 8 of them were discussing Zhan Wushuang. Zhan Wushuang's breakthrough allowed them to see a glimmer of hope, the light of dawn on the rise of the Zhan clan. In order to avoid the enemy, in order to rise to prominence and lurk in the Chaos Realm for so many years, every single generation of the battle family had to shoulder the heavy responsibility of returning to the divinity. In this generation, they finally saw hope because of Zhan Wushuang's appearance. Zhan Tiantu asked, "Master, what do you want the Zhan clan to prepare now?" The leader of the master also saw that Zhan Tiantu's complexion had slightly improved. After all, Zhan Wushuang was his son. As long as he condenses his divine spark, he will immediately enter the ancient holy battlefield at that time. He laughed excitedly, and then another old man said, "Speaking of preparation, the only thing we need to do now is to protect Wushuang, the little girl who is protecting Xianyuan nationality. Nothing must go wrong. Xianyuan Li heir was also the key to transcending the tribulation. She had to be sure that she was obedient." Zhan Tiantu immediately said, "The tower question of God is also under our control, and the owner of tower question of God will protect Wushuang. He also does not want to miss out on 2 geniuses who can enter the ancient holy battlefield, as it will not benefit him in any way." owner of Tower Question of God, is also considered to be the peak powerhouse, I think Wu Shuang, and the rest can protect him. Owner of Tower Question of God was also a powerhouse who had condensed a divine spark like them. Moreover, after being in control of the Tower Question of God for such a long time, the divine power he cultivated was very profound. Even if he was no match for it, he still had a super spirit treasure Tower Question of God. They did not have to worry about the Tower Question of God-s. Even if they had more people, it would be useless. They would just be throwing their lives away. Right. The leading master suddenly asked, "How did the war letter die? Now can you tell me?" Jean Tiente trembled slightly. Thinking back to the feeling of being pressed into the darkness just now, his body couldn't help but tremble as he said, "I really don't know. As far as I know, no one in the Xianyuan nationality is a match for him. The only possibility is..." Jean Tiente looked at Master and said, "I am Long Fei." "It's him. Impossible. Long Fei is just a semi-realistic realm. No matter how strong the energy he cultivates is special, it will be restricted by the laws of the plane. In Chaos Realm, no one can stand above the divine level powerhouse, and it will be the same for Long Fei." Jean Tiente did not believe it either, but he wanted to force everything on Long Fei. Long Fei grew up too fast. He had to restrain it, or it would become a huge threat. The destruction of the Hell Gate was a living warning. Jean Tiente said, "Long Fei is indeed a semi-realistic realm, but almost all the clan elders died to him. If we do not get rid of him, it will become a hidden danger. All Master-s, I beg you to attack together." As soon as he finished, an old man sneered, looked disdainfully at Jean Tiente, and said, "How scared are you of Long Fei? You actually asked us to join hands and kill a trash from the semi-realistic realm? Is he qualified? Even if his talent and cultivation are good, who are we? The peak of in this world of bastards. Do you want to join forces to kill him?" It was full of disdain. Even if the battle letter died, they would not put Long Fei in their eyes. Jean Tiente said, "This child killed many of our Jean clan elders. We must use our lightning-like power to kill him, to shake the prestige of our Jean clan." He insisted. His purpose for coming to 9 secret borders, other than reporting the news of Jean Wushuang breaking through to the God's Tower, was to bring all 8 Master-s out at the same time. The current Chaos Realm was a complete mess following the destruction of the Hell Gate. If the Jean clan were to step out now, they would be able to easily dominate the entire plane. After a long time, the leading master let out a light breath and said, "It's been so many years since I last went out to walk around. We should go out and take a look." As soon as he finished, the other 7 were startled, then began to laugh. Jean Tiente was ecstatic in his heart and thought to himself, "Long Fei, you're not going to die this time." At this moment, outside Jean family's valley, stood at the entrance to the valley, looking at the Jean's elder, who had lost his human form. He smiled slightly and said, "Go, inform your patriarch that your father has come." The clan elder stumbled into the valley and turned around to look at Long Fei. He grinned and laughed coldly. "Brat, just wait for your death. Long Fei is here. Long Fei is here." The sound exploded in the valley. The disciples of the Jean clan also rushed out like a surging tide. Long Fei glanced at the main artifact and said slightly, "It's time to fill up the main gun. The main gun hasn't been used for a long time. I wonder if it will rust." As soon as he finished, Long Fei's afterimage was like a ghost as he stepped into the crowd of people. The slaughter begins. Chapter 1608, Arriving at Master. Chapter 1608, Arriving at Master to be able to make a move. It was definitely not an exaggeration. The moment he stepped into Jean Clan Valley, Long Fei's slaughter mode had started. Those Zhan clan disciples rushed forward and shouted, "You dare to come here and behave atrociously. Today will be your doomsday." Before he could finish his words, his chest was crushed by the palm force released from Long Fei's body, causing blood to spurt out crazily from his mouth, killing him instantly. Ding! The system sounded out. Long Fei didn't pay any attention to it because his current level was already at the peak. If he couldn't break through, then no matter how much experience points he had, it would be useless unless he could draw in the heavenly tribulation. However, he had not reached that point yet. Boom! As the sword in his hand fell, another wave of disciples' heads were decapitated. Ding, ding, ding! A series of system beep sounds rang out. After consecutively killing a few people, Long Fei suddenly stopped as he thought in his heart, "Domain Treasure Series." Buzz. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Domain Treasure Essence Sword. Ding! The Domain Treasure Yuan Essence has been absorbed. The energy will fill up the entire layer. The current main artifact had already been transformed into the Dragon Coffin mode. Although there were 2 levels of evolution, each of them were unrelated to the other. Thus, it would not affect the filling of energy, but it was still the same. The energy filling up of the main artifact in Golden Cudgel mode had already reached level 100. As Long Fei released it, he could instantly enter Sun Wukong mode. And what Long Fei needed to do now was to kill people, striking energy value, and also Berserk Domain Treasure. Boom, boom, boom. Long Fei acted as if there was no one around. Every place he went was filled with killing intent. Not a single one was left. Warhouse, it must be extinguished today. Kill him. Hurry up and kill him. I can't do it. How powerful can a mere Long Fei be? Disciples of the Zhan clan, listen up. Attack. At the same time, the injured Zhan's elder quickly ran to Zhan Tiantu's courtyard, seeing the disciples of the Zhan clan fall one by one, and with Long Fei coming over step, his heart turned slightly cold. The more Long Fei killed, the braver he became. He was completely intoxicated in this world of slaughter. One had to know that he walked the path of death. It was to slaughter its way into the Tao, and everything was going wild. This is bad. This is bad. At the entrance of the 9 secret borders, a few clan elders knelt on the ground and shouted loudly, "Clan leader, Long Fei, Long Fei, Long Fei has attacked and entered the valley." What? The space between Zhan Tiantu's eyebrows tightened. At this time, a master snorted coldly, "If I don't go look for him, he'll come look for us first. All right, little bastard, today we'll see how capable you are." Boom! The door of the 9 secret borders suddenly opened, and a white figure flew out like lightning. Zhan Tianta laughed in his heart. "You dog, let's see how long you can continue being so arrogant for." The remaining 7 Master S walked out of the secret world. "Let's go. Let's see if Long Fei has 3 heads and 6 arms. Even 3 heads and 6 arms are crippled. If this kid really is a descendant of the Dragon Clan, then it might be beneficial for us to cultivate the power of the Dragon Tomb. Don't rush to kill him." The old man in the lead spoke plainly. At this time, an old man said, "Big brother, do you want to take that fellow from the Dragon's necropolis out for a walk? The Dragon Soul Battle God must be really cool." Everyone looked at him. The leading old man shook his head and said, "There's no need to rush. A mere lame duck does not require us to use our trump cards. Dragon Soul Battle God. The colossal dragon's soul used the fitted soul spirit body technique to merge with its body and transformed itself into an extremely powerful dragon energy. This was the strongest power of the 9 secret borders. It was also their Zhan clan's strongest trump card. He would not use it unless he absolutely had to. Boom. Boom. Long Fei, you dog, give me your life. Chapter 1609. The First Cannon in Zhanjia Valley. Chapter 1609. The First Cannon in Zhanjia Valley. As soon as he finished, the white shadow of the ancestors of Zhan's shook. Boom. The ground suddenly exploded as waves of powerful spirit qi rushed towards Long Fei like shock waves. Everything around him was cracking. The air exploded. His body was suffused with a golden glow as he was released one by one. The eyes of the Zhan clan disciple were blazing as he knelt down. Greetings, Master. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted slightly as he laughed excitedly. Boss, I like it, hee hee. The golden light emitted by the old man's body was almost the same as the light emitted by the battle letter. The old man's golden light was almost the same as the light emitted from the battle letter. However, Long Fei glanced at his striking energy value. We are still a few people away from going berserk with one more domain treasure. Long Fei, Zhan Hong bellowed, his two eyes staring at Long Fei with an intense killing intent. He coldly said, "How can the Zhan clan allow you to be so presumptuous?" Buzz, buzz, buzz. While they were talking, the pressure from Zhan Hong's body surged like an avalanche as it rushed towards Long Fei. Zhan Hong shouted, "Kneel down!" Rumble! A sound of explosion rang out, and a strong pressure and thunderous might swept over. Very strong, extremely strong, but Long Fei acted as if he did not care, and with a move of his body, he landed in front of one of the Zhan clan disciples, sneered, and said, "This old man is being too presumptuous." How? Crack! Then the battle clan disciple would instantly be killed by Long Fei. Under normal powerhouse's current state, a semi-realistic realm could instantly kill a powerhouse, and even a semi-realistic realm's powerhouse would not be able to block 3 of his attacks. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Zhan clan disciple for obtaining 1000 EXP, 100 holy source points, 10 energy values points. At the peak of Long Fei's level, he had less and less experience. However, there was no change in the striking energy value at all. There are still 2 people left. Long Fei laughed coldly. At this time, Zhan Hong's divine might had already smashed into Long Fei's consciousness, causing it to surge crazily. The power in his mind roiled. Long Fei's body also sank slightly. Zhan Hong roared, "Kneel!" Boom! The power on Zhan Hong's body exploded outwards, and the divine might could be seen with the naked eye as it rushed towards Long Fei like a wild beast. If Long Fei were to be crushed like this, he would not be able to move even if he was not injured. However, Long Fei still ignored him. He moved. Shua! He instantly appeared in front of the 2 disciples, grinned, and said, "You too die?" Boom, boom. Ding, ding. The 2 system beeps sounded out. At this moment, Long Fei moved his hand, releasing 100 points of striking energy value in exchange for a domain treasure. Ding! System notification. The energy of the main gun has been filled up. The system beep descended. Ha ha! Long Fei grinned. Seeing the incoming divine might, Long Fei stared at Zhan Hong and laughed coldly. Smile? Later, you will kneel on the ground and cry. Zhan Hong scoffed. He basically did not place Long Fei in his eyes, and Long Fei did not have the qualifications either. Never seen it before. Now that he had met Long Fei, he was even more certain that a lame duck like Long Fei was simply unworthy of being mentioned in the same breath as him. I cry? Let's see who cries. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. The system beep sounded again. Ding. Target locked. Long Fei moved his body, placing the dragon coffin on his shoulder. He locked onto Zhan Hong and shouted, "Idiot! Tremble! Fire!" Boom! The dragon coffin moved. The energy released from the 5-layer domain treasure formed a strong main gun power, locking onto Zhan Hong and blasting out. "This is my first shot at the battle house. Bring it on! Explode the heaven and earth." After firing the cannon, Long Fei withdrew his main artifact and stood still on the spot as he looked at the distant Zhan Hong with a cold and scornful smile on his face. Zhan Hong's gaze tensed up. He suddenly felt the powerful energy from the cannonball, but he did not panic but laughed coldly. "A mere energy cannon like that can injure me? I am a divine level powerhouse. Just this little thing. Humph, overestimating yourself." In that instant, Zhan Hong's figure moved, and a divine light shield appeared around his body, slashing out with a palm. "Destroy?" Long Fei laughed. He laughed happily. "Is a divine level powerhouse awesome? A little thing? Overestimating your capabilities. You'll soon know what the power of a gadget is. As long as the main gun could lock on, it would be killed with a blast. Not to mention in Chaos Realm, even in Divinity, it would be the same. The first thing main gun did was to kill one of the Divinity-S. This divine level powerhouse and Neo-X, when Zhan Hong released the power of his palm, it was completely useless as it pierced straight through. The wrinkles on Zhan Hong's forehead deepened as he moved his feet and jumped out at full speed. "Flee? Aren't you awesome? Didn't you despise this kind of small thing? Escape your sister. Do you think you can escape?" Long Fei laughed out loud. He had never seen such an idiot before. Under the main gun, not a single blade of grass grew. Zhan Hong felt more and more that this energy cannon was not simple. Zhan Hong moved, body fusion of the idea. Shwa! In almost an instant, an idea was used to condense a fake body. Soon, this speed also slightly startled Long Fei. However, there was no use in using a fake body, because the target was real face Zhan Hong, so no matter how many fake bodies he released, it was useless. Shwa! He went around the fake body and threw it at Zhan Hong. This time, Zhan Hong was stupid. Long Fei laughed loudly. Come on, aren't you awesome? Didn't the ancestors of Zhan's look down on everything? Come on, take it head on." "Master, I think it's an old dog." "Ha ha ha." Zhan Hong was enraged to the point that smoke came out of his head. Seeing the energy cannonball getting closer, he also threw caution out of the window, lowering his body and taking root under his feet. He converted all the energy on his body into a shield and roared out, "Let me see how strong your energy cannonball is." Before he could finish his words, boom! A loud explosion resounded. Zhan Hong's body disappeared. He was blasted into the sky. At the right time, Zhan Tiantu and the other 7 ancestors of Zhan's rushed over. "Where is he?" Zhan Tiantu looked at Long Fei in the distance, then looked at the surrounding Battle Clan disciples who were in a daze. The master in the lead was also shocked. He could not see Zhan Hong's figure in the surroundings, and he could not help but call out, "Junior brother?" He had disappeared. It was really strange. That was the ancestors of Zhan's. Just when they were about to ask where they were, all the disciples looked up at the sky with stupefied expressions. At the same time, a brain fell from the sky. Clang! Just like a broken basin falling down, and coincidentally rolled down to Zhan Tiantu's feet, his skull turning black and still smoking. 1 shot, 1 kill. Chapter 1610, next. Chapter 1610, next. He was stupefied. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even Long Fei himself was a little dumbstruck, because he had forgotten something very important. The main gun's power was too great. After one cannon blast, Zhan Hong's body only had this piece of brain left. Everything else had turned into ashes. Nothing else remained. They were all turned into ashes. He only left behind 10 points of energy values and no experience for Long Fei. Long Fei secretly groaned in his heart. I forgot about this. It was the same for the powerhouse who had killed Divinity last time. He did not even fart. Not because he did not want to explode, but because the main gun's power was too strong, causing him to forcefully blast to death anything that could be dropped. So bitter. My boss. It disappeared just like that. Long Fei felt bitter in his heart. This main gun must not be used carelessly in the future. It's so angry. Zhan Tiantai looked at the smoking skull beneath his feet, and then said in a daze, "This is Master Zhan Hong?" The seven Masters also stared at the heads on the ground. His brain couldn't react in time. All the Zhan clan disciples nodded. A single blast had turned him into a complete mess. Zhan Tiantai stared at an elder and bellowed, "How did Master Zhan Hong become like this?" Then the elder immediately raised his head and replied, "Replying clan leader, I was beaten to this state by Long Fei in a single move." "Impossible!" With a roar, a Zhan's elder walked out. His eyes stared straight at Long Fei and said solemnly, "I do not care how he died. In short," with a flick of a finger, he pointed at Long Fei's nose with extreme anger and killing intent as he said, "You're about to die." Long Fei shrugged. "Really?" Zhan Hong had said the same thing just now. "But now that he is dead, I am still alive." "Ah." The old man was enraged. The divine aura on his body erupted like a tsunami, his divine power surging as he rushed out. He pierced through the space and instantly landed in front of Long Fei. With a flip of his right hand, his palm struck towards Long Fei's head. Too fast, too fast. It was so fast that he couldn't even see it clearly. A light flashed in everyone's eyes. He's dead for sure. Long Fei is dead for sure. He can't react at this speed at all. It was only a moment ago when Master Zhan Hong was careless. It's definitely impossible now. Long Fei will definitely die. Many of the Zhan clan disciples started to discuss with each other. Strength was everything. The difference between the realm of the semi-realistic realm and that of the divine level was too great. So Long Fei was unable to reverse it. With a flip of his right hand, a gigantic palm print appeared in the sky. Even if Long Fei was fast enough, he could not dodge it because the palm print was simply too big. However, Long Fei did not plan to dodge. Don't be terrified. Exactly. Long Fei's speed was not good, but his reaction speed was not slow. The moment Zhan's elder moved, his idea sank, controlled the force on his forehead, and shouted, "Sky, eye, open!" Buzz. On his forehead, his third eye opened. Last time he only used his healing power. It could be said that healing was not the strong point of the Sky Eye, but its strong point was attack. Looking at an extra eye on Long Fei's forehead, the old man could not help but mock him. "One more eye, and you're good. Kid, this world is about strength. Die." Rumble, rumble, rumble. With a flip of the palm imprint, it shattered the void and pressed towards Long Fei with a divine might. The entire Zhan clan valley began to tremble. In the distance, the mountains shattered and the earth quaked. Under the huge force, Long Fei's body was barely able to resist, and he started to tremble. But between his brows, his third eye stared at the old man and shouted, "Sky, Eye." Purple light shot out. "Bring it on. Let me witness your strength." The power of his heaven's eyes activated. A violet light flashed. Suddenly, Long Fei's eyes instantly became like a machine gun, but what it shot out was not a bullet, but a purple beam of light. Boom, 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 boom. Explosions exploded in the air one after another. What level of holy artifact is the heaven's eyes? A main artifact. Its strength and speed were not comparable to the main gun, but slaughtering the powerhouse S of the one-star godhood wasn't a problem at all. Boom, 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 boom. Asterisk rays of purple light pierced through the body of the ancestors of Jean's. In the short span of half a breath, the master, who was in midair and had a divine might, turned into a sieve. Blood spewed out of his mouth. His body's defense was completely useless. The thing that Long Fei felt the most was that when the purple light was shot out, his body would tremble at the same time. This feeling was too exhilarating. The bloody wound on Jean's elders had nearly bottomed out in an instant. However, a middle stage heaven's holy artifact consumed too much energy. A single beam of purple light was equivalent to 1,000,000 points of holy source, and each time it would cost tens of millions of holy sources. Rumble! A purple light pierced through Jean's elder's head. His body exploded. The huge palm print in the sky also dissipated. Long Fei said, excitedly, "The divine level powerhouse is impressive. This daddy precisely killed you, divine level powerhouse. SF asterisk CK. Explode for me. Rumble. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing ancestors of Jean's, for obtaining 320 million experience points, 100 million holy source points, and 10 energy values points. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the heavenly bones sacrifice. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 9 underworld battle blood. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a series of berserk attacks. Long Fei looked at the object that exploded, and his gaze tensed up. Heavenly bone shackles. The letter also dropped. This time, another one dropped. Could it be the same power as the God's Bone Taboo and the God's Stellastone? Seeing the two words, Heavenly Bone, Long Fei couldn't help but think of the God's Bone Taboo. The current magic body was a completely independent body. He had been sent by Long Fei to a mysterious place to kill monsters and level up. If she was by his side, Long Fei would make the magic body fuse with the Heavenly Bone Shrek. Perhaps it could make the Devil God or the Heavenly Calamity Divine Tree in his body even stronger. Another Jean's elder died. He had not expected this at all. Long Fei's heaven's eyes widened and looked at the few white-haired elders beside Jean Tiantu. The corners of his mouth curled up, and he said excitedly, "Wow, there are still 6 super bosses. It's so fun." Long Fei still had a lot of power that he couldn't release. Looking at their blank expressions, Long Fei reminded them, "Stop blanking out. Who's next? Or should I say, all of you come at once?" Incomparable savagery. The semi-realistic realm was crazy enough to not put these divine level powerhouse in its eyes. At this moment, the remaining 6 ancestors of Jean's as all burned with fury, their eyes staring straight at Long Fei, their killing intent growing dark and dense. At the same time, Nangong Yen looked at the sky above him, pointed at a spot, and said, "That is the entrance to the heavenly palace of the Tower Question of God." Chapter 1611, 72 Transformations. Chapter 1611, 72 Transformations. Attack. Inside John Clan Valley, War Tiger shouted. The 6th Master S instantly moved. Almost at the same time, he landed beside Long Fei. The 6 of them had joined forces. There was no precedent. This had never happened in the history of the Jean clan before. It was unimaginable for the 6 great master to work together to fight against a single semi-realistic realm. However, in this world, no one cared about how weak their opponents were. They only cared about who the final victor was. Means were not important. The most important thing was the result. The 6 of them disappeared into thin air, and all of the Zhan clan disciples became excited. Long Fei is dead for sure now. Ha ha. Let's see how long he can stay alive with the 6 great masters. Long Fei, prepare to die. Zhan Tiantu stroked his beard and smiled. He was very clear on the cultivation levels of the 6 masters. They were definitely able to kill Long Fei in an instant, because they are the ancestors of Zhan's, the powerhouse at the peak of the Zhan clan. Zhan Tiantu looked at Long Fei, who was not far away, and revealed a cold and scornful smile. He muttered, "With your death, you could also be considered to have eliminated a hidden danger for Wushuang." The pressure was like a mountain, and the roar was like the sea. Layers upon layers of pressure crushed down. Unable to resist, the ground that Long Fei occupied caved in, and the sky darkened. The pressure that the 6 of them were releasing was causing crackling sounds to ring out. Powerful, incomparable power. Long Fei's body trembled. His skin was caving in. This was the first time he had felt such a strong pressure. And this kind of feeling was extremely uncomfortable. At the same time, it made him extremely frustrated. F***CK. The attack that Laozi hates the most is coercion. Trying to act cool at the divine level? Then let's see how you die. Long Fei lowered his voice and linked with the golden cudgel, shouting, "Activate your energy, Sun Wukong's power. Activate for me." Buzz. Rays of red light flashed on the golden cudgel that were at the 100 layer of energy. Following the movement of Long Fei's idea, the energy on the golden cudgel exploded. A loud sound echoed out. A strand of energy from the main artifact rushed into Long Fei's body. Shua. Long Fei's body changed as he became a Sun Wukong. The expression on the faces of the 6 masters suddenly changed. Long Fei's sudden transformation caused them to be a little shocked. However, in just an instant, the 6 of them didn't weaken at all. "Long Fei, give me your life. Die." Roaring, the powerful attacks of the 6 people fell like thunder. The combined strength of the 6 was simply too strong, so powerful that it was unshakable. The moment his power dropped, Long Fei grinned, and the idea moved. Change. Shua. His figure disappeared. Long Fei transformed into a golden-winged Motzi and immediately disappeared. The change from Sun Wukong to a mosquito was as easy as lifting a finger. Rumble! 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 With the explosion of power, the entire Zhan clan valley began to tremble. The ground began to crack, and many Zhan clan disciples were forced to the ground by the powerful shockwave. However, Long Fei was not their target of attack. "I'm here." Long Fei appeared from the real face, giggled, and said, "Aren't you guys a little too weak?" Long Fei appeared not far behind them. The 6 of them were enraged. They looked at each other, and without any hesitation, they launched another palm attack. This time, it was even fiercer, stronger. The war tiger roared out, "Pay attention to his chi. Watch his movements." Understood. 6 big attacks landed, and 2 of the masters kept their eyes on Long Fei. But right at the moment when the 6 attacks struck Long Fei shouted in his heart, "Change." Shua. He disappeared once more. Ancestors of Zhan's looked extremely confused as he said, "Big brother, he's gone." "Big brother, your aura disappeared as well. This is impossible." Just as they were stunned, Long Fei was already standing behind them. He mocked, "Divine-level powerhouse are also so mediocre, weak chicken." Ha ha ha. This was simply an insult. Twice he missed, and he was laughed at. How could he tolerate this? As a member of the ancestors of Zhan's, even though he had so many disciples, he could not help but feel embarrassed. Anger soared. The leader of the Master War Tiger shouted, "We'll split up and move out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk 6 points fell into different places in an instant. The war tiger continued. The idea have joined hands. Boom. The 6 people's auras formed a powerful idea net and surrounded Long Fei. In that case, it would be hard for Long Fei to escape. However, it was just their way of thinking. Kid, let's see how you will escape this time. The war tiger roared in anger and took the initiative to attack. Wow, I'm so scared. Long Fei pretended to be afraid, and when the Wartager's attack fell, his figure changed again. His body disappeared. He turned into a small bug and slowly crawled away. A few seconds later, Long Fei's body recovered. Continue. The moment his body was about to recover, another Ancestors of Jean struck over. Let's see where you can dodge to. Whoosh. Long Fei's figure disappeared again. Boom. It disappeared again. Boom. Still disappeared. When Long Fei disappeared, his aura also disappeared, leaving nothing behind. The combined attack of the 6 failed. Separating attacks or failing. Long Fei's mouth had a cold smile and said, Come, you F*** king came to hit me. He had a despicable look on his face. Everyone hated him so much that their teeth itched. The anger in the hearts of the 6th master almost ignited his body. The war tiger stared at Long Fei and shouted, You dog, if you have the guts, don't run away. What's the big deal? Long Fei grinned. Hit me if you dare. You are all trash, Ancestors of Jean's. Divine? In my opinion, it's just a bunch of old trash. What use do you think all of you have? If the 6 of you can't even deal with me, a semi-realistic realm cultivator, then how can you all have the face to live? Mine is blushing for you. Look at your grandchildren. Don't you all feel ashamed? Long Fei said with a smile. In his mind, he was also constantly paying attention to the time he needed to transform. The transformation only took 3 minutes. It had been almost 2 minutes now. What he needed to do now was to collapse the hearts of the 6 Master S. Under these circumstances, their defenses will be reduced by 1-fold. The war tiger swept a glance at the Jean clan disciples around. Those Jean clan disciples all lowered their heads, not daring to look at her directly. Obviously, they all felt that it was a bit shameful when Long Fei said so much. Ancestors of Jean's furiously shouted, You dog, I will cripple you. His heart had already collapsed. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted slightly, revealing a sinister cold smile. It's time for me to explode. Chapter 16:12, Violent Killing. Chapter 16:12. Violent killing playing tricks only broke their hearts, made them angry, made them go crazy, made them lose their mind. In this case, the alliance of the 6 Master S had been completely lost. This was what Long Fei wanted. One of the master roared towards Long Fei without a care. Everyone thought that Long Fei would use some strange method to dodge the explosion. So no one paid attention to Long Fei's current position, but rather to another place. They wanted to see clearly the rules of Long Fei's movement. But buzz. The golden cudgel combusted, and the great sage's power surged out. Facing the Jean's elder divine, Long Fei went up to face him. Boom. The Samisen True Fire's burning staff smashed down. Too fast, too fierce. It fiercely smashed onto the head of the Ancestors of Jean's. Bam! His entire body was like a nail nailed to the ground as he let out a blood-curdling scream. Without waiting for him to react, Long Fei once again smashed the top of Ancestors of Jean's head from the sky, directly knocking his head out of the ground and into the ground, causing fresh blood to spurt all over. The gash on his head also instantly disappeared with 2 swishes. The system beep rang. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing ancestors of Jean's for obtaining 2 billion experience, 10 million holy source, and 10 energy values. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the Heavenly Bone Sacrifice. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 9 Underworld Battle Blood. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 1-star Godhood. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. A series of notifications sounded. Hi. The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. Why? Long Fei did not escape. Why did he suddenly attack? Why did he possess the power to kill divine-level powerhouse? Everyone was dumbfounded. They thought that Long Fei would escape, but no. Long Fei lightly hooked his finger, stared at the war tiger, and smiled. Next, it was incomparably domineering. It was incomparably savage, so wild that it was a complete mess. Divine, they are killing your powerhouses. Another master rushed out, releasing a roar. With a flip of his right hand, a gigantic hammer appeared in the air, flying straight towards Long Fei's head. I will kill you. The 9 of them were like 9 brothers. The death of any one of them was a huge blow to them. They had been together for so many years and grew up together. But now, they had all died one after another, their hearts filled with rage and killing intent. All they wanted was to kill Long Fei. In that instant, Long Fei smirked. I was just afraid that you wouldn't come. Boom. Long Fei moved his body and pulled out a strand of hair. His real face turned into a small moth and flew straight into the air. Boom. The Jean's elder released all the god power in his body and smashed down with his hammer. Incomparable power. Long Fei's fake body also instantly crumbled apart, turning into a strand of hair that floated down from the sky. Dead. That's not right. That's not right. War Tiger frowned as she felt the energy fluctuation in the sky. Above it, 6th brother is above it. Too late. Long Fei moved, the golden cudgel in his hand smashed down, and laughed. It's too slow. Boom. Another violent strike smashed Master to the ground, causing the ground to crack and his body to be nailed to the ground. Long Fei descended and fiercely smashed down onto the top of his head. At the same time, he coldly laughed. Next. Chapter 16:13. This old man's Yan Huang ancestor. Chapter 16:13. This old man's Yan Huang ancestor, rumble. A loud sound echoed out. A crack line extended for thousands of meters before the ancestors of Jean's was smashed into the ground, causing blood to spurt all over the ground. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, just bury him directly in the ground. Save it the trouble of burying him. Ha ha ha. The faces of the surrounding Jean clan disciples turned ugly. For 3-9 secret warrior family as to be slaughtered consecutively. Was this still a war house? Just how strong was Long Fei? Would he be able to withstand it? Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. The strength that Long Fei had displayed was just too terrifying. He couldn't withstand it at all. Jean Tiantu frowned tightly and said in a low voice, Master, do you want Wushuang to come back? After all, he has obtained the power of our ancestor. He can definitely... Not waiting for him to finish, the war tiger shouted, No need. If I can't even handle a mere Long Fei, I'm not fit to be the master of a war family, and based on that, I don't deserve to live in this world. Anger. It burned crazily in the Wartager's mind. He could only watch as his brothers died one by one. He had never experienced pain like this before, and it was extremely painful. The war tiger stared at Long Fei and said, Brat, I have to say, Your strength is unexpected. You made me angry, so you will definitely die." Long Fei looked at the transformation time. He was a little nervous. There were only 20 seconds left. Immediately, Long Fei laughed. "Old trash, don't dilly-dally. Come at me together. That would save you more time." "I don't want to talk to him." As long as the five of them were not acting in concert, Long Fei would be able to handle it. Furthermore, Long Fei had not completely grasped the power of this transformation. "Kid, stop being so arrogant." The war tiger roared. The four Master S beside him rushed out at the same time, instantly landing in Long Fei's four directions. "Kill." The four of them attacked at the same time. Long Fei pulled out a few hairs on his body. "Change!" Multiple clones materialized. In that moment, Long Fei did not expect that the war tiger would suddenly disappear, and he could not sense his chi at all. War Tiger S were the strongest of the 9 Great Master, and were extremely close to a 2-star expert. His aura was something that Long Fei's current cultivation could not sense. Boom, boom, boom. The four of them hacked down at the same time, their 4 hairs standing on end. Long Fei did not immediately reveal his real face. Instead, he turned into a small worm and hid himself. "Long Fei, come out and die." "You dog, aren't you arrogant? Come out here and die." "Get out here to die." Long Fei remained unmoved. He was waiting. He had to find the location of the war tiger for him to be able to move. However, time was too precious for him now. The transformation time was running out bit by bit. 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 5 seconds. If this continued, he would recover his real face's appearance once the time to transform. At that time, things might not be easy. There are only 3 seconds left. Seeing that there were only 3 seconds left, Long Fei could not wait any longer. In that instant, Long Fei's figure moved. The burning golden cudgel fiercely smashed down towards the head of a master, and at that moment, the war tiger suddenly rushed out from the void and growled out, "Long Fei, die!" One palm, a golden light. It was as if the scorching sun was in his hands. An incomparably hot energy instantly rushed into Long Fei's mind. In his sea of consciousness, he sensed an incomparably strong energy aura, and the blood on top of Long Fei's had practically bottomed out in an instant. Resurrection ring open. Ding. The resurrection ring has been opened. All right. Long Fei knew that he would not be able to withstand the palm of the war tiger, so he threw caution to the wind, and the golden cudgel in his hands exploded at the last second of the transformation time. Rumble! The power from the golden cudgel cut through the air, directly slicing ancestors of Zhan's in half. Explode! Rumble! Once his health fell, he would be instantly killed. The war tiger roared like thunder. Ah! Die! Burning heaven flames poured into Long Fei's body. Boom! The amount of blood on top of Long Fei's head also instantly bottomed out, and he died with a single palm strike. His body fell to the ground. Third brother! Third brother! A few ancestors of Zhan's surrounded the master that was split into 2 halves by Long Fei, blood flowing all over the ground. The war tiger looked at Long Fei's corpse and felt that it was a little strange. My burning heaven fire carried the destructive element, but why is his body not damaged in the slightest? Under that one palm, he was certain that Long Fei was dead for sure. Moreover, Long Fei did not have any defense. Normally, if Long Fei died, he would definitely die. Not only would he die, his body would also not be smashed into smithereens. However, Long Fei's body was not damaged in the slightest. This confused the war tiger. He did not think much about it, since Long Fei was already dead. The Zhan clan disciples cheered. "He's finally dead." Ha ha ha. To challenge the master, You are courting death. The mighty master. Master is awesome. Long Fei's heart had also relaxed slightly. The Zhan clan was severely injured by Long Fei. 5 Master S fell, and 9 Divine-level Powerhouse S fell. He had to admit that Long Fei was very strong, injured by the Zhan clan's vital energy. However, as long as Zhan Wushuang was not affected, these injuries were not a problem. Zhan Wushuang condensed his divine spark, flew to the ancient holy battlefield, and recovered all of the Zhan clan's former glory. When Zhan Wushuang gained his footing in the ancient holy battlefield, that would be when Zhan clan returned to the divinity. Right now, Zhan Wushuang was the core of the Zhan clan. As long as Zhan Wushuang did not die, it did not matter. Boom, boom, rumble. A few deafening noises resounded outside Zhan family's valley. A roar. Long Fei. Buzz. A figure heavily fell down, instantly landing in front of the war tiger. Looking at Long Fei, who had collapsed on the ground, the space between his eyebrows tightened. You guys killed him? The wartager's expression turned cold. Who are you? The old man standing in front of him had an extremely dense aura, so much so that, not inferior to him, it was hard to imagine. Does Chaos Realm have such a powerhouse? It was also at this time. A disciple hurriedly ran into the valley and said, Clan leader, something bad has happened. Zhan Tiantu's eyes turned sinister. He asked softly, What is it? Long Fei had already dealt with it, so anything was not a problem. That disciple's face was pale as he said, Our Zhan clan valley has been surrounded. Huh. Zhan Tiantu's face darkened. He snorted and said, Who dares to go against my Zhan clan in Chaos Realm? Are you courting death? The old man standing in front of the war tiger said, solemnly, It's this old man. The war tiger asked again, Who are you? The elder's cold voice rang out, This old man's Yan Huang ancestor. Chapter 16:14, Resurrection. Chapter 16:14, Resurrection. As soon as his voice faded, the sky shook and a dense special aura exploded in Zhan Clan Valley. At this moment, boom, boom, they had all arrived at the Skyless sect that was created by the Yan Huang ancestor. They were all part of the demon race, and they were all giant demons, so they were all extremely powerful. In addition, quite a few had deity-level cultivation. If they wanted to compete in 9 secret warrior family S, they were not weak at all. This was the power that the Yan Huang ancestor created for Long Fei. He had always been waiting for Long Fei to unite the Chaos Realm, and then he would pass this power to him so that he could enter the ancient holy battlefield to compete for hegemony. Seeing Long Fei on the ground, his heart felt a faint stabbing pain. Long Fei had saved him before. It was Long Fei who allowed him to return to the Chaos Realm. It was Long Fei who gave him a new life. But now, Long Fei is dead. The anger in his heart was burning crazily. The Zhan clan disciples looked at the powerhouse that were everywhere, and many of them were trembling in fear. Surround Zhan family? This was something that had never occurred to the members of the Zhan clan before. How powerful was Zhan clan? How dare they surround Zhan clan? Zhan Tiantu frowned. You better figure out where this is and who broke through the tower question of God. And then you better figure out everything. At Zhan family, it was incomparably powerful. Who would dare be rash? The war tiger also shouted slightly, Yan Huang ancestor? I've never heard of it. 4 Yan Huang ancestor, let alone war tiger. There were not even any people in the entire Chaos Realm that knew about him. This was because the Yan Huang ancestor was completely different from them in this era. You've never heard of it. Because when I was hanging around in Chaos Realm, your Zhan clan didn't even exist. Yan Huang ancestors' eyes revealed a sharp killing intent. Long Fei's death had made him angry. The Wardagers' heart sank and said, "Impossible, Battle Family has existed in the Chaos Realm for millions of years. If you had existed at that time, your lifespan would not have lasted until now. I don't care who you are, and I don't care what relationship you have with Long Fei, but one thing I ask you to understand." The War Tiger said, solemnly, "This is the Nine Secret Warrior Family." The 3 words Nine Secret Warrior Family were particularly emphasized. Nine Secret Warrior Family could crush any power. However, the Yen Huang ancestor laughed coldly and said, "I don't care what kind of a sage *T9 Secret Warrior Family you are or what kind of family you are from. If you kill Long Fei, then you will die. Everyone must die." Anger soared. As soon as his voice fell, the disciples on both sides of the valley shouted in unison. A huge wave of killing intent rolled over as it came crushing down on them. At this moment, they instantly rushed down the valley as well. The Wardagers' eyes staring straight at Yen Huang ancestor. "Do you really want to fight?" Yen Huang ancestor said, "This old man will never stop until we kill your entire Zhan clan." Boom! The power of the Yen Huang ancestor burst out, his aura spreading for thousands of kilometers. In that moment, the pressure on his body suddenly dropped. Rumble! The entire Zhan clan valley started to shake. Other than the War Tiger, everyone else in the Zhan clan were crushed. Their faces were pale and filled with pain. Even the ancestors of Zhan's were the same. He had been crushed to the point that he couldn't even breathe. Extremely uncomfortable, the expression on the Wardager's face secretly changed. He never thought that there would actually be such a powerful person in the Chaos Realm, and it was something he had never heard of before. They were completely shocked. However, this did not mean that he would be afraid. The Wardager's chi also followed his movements and burst out, blocking the attack heavily. At this moment, a system notification rang out. Ding! 100 layers of energy filled up. Cough, cough. Long Fei coughed and got up from the ground, saying, "Ancestor, you came really slowly. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."